Chapter 113. His vision went dark and then lit up again. The fully armored pirate Gauda, who was sent into the battlefield by the catapult, found that he was in the city inside the satellite fortress. Through the camera, Ray Minkai could see the stone dome supported by dozens of stone pillars above his head. And under the dome was a city made up of buildings of different heights. At this time, there were no lights in the city, nor were there any signs of life. There were only fully armored pirate Gundams stepping on them. The interior of Axis? I didn't expect it to appear here. UFFI, where is the Steel Eagle? Ray Minkai looked at the surrounding buildings and asked. Confirming. Found it. It seems that due to some unknown restrictions, the Steel Eagle didn't directly appear in the city. I'm trying to reconnect with the Steel Eagle. UFFI, who was standing behind Ray Minkai, quickly tapped on the keyboard in front of her, trying to reconnect with the Steel Eagle. No matter what, Ray Minkai knew that he couldn't get support from the Steel Eagle for the time being. Fortunately, the terrain in front of him was a street battle that was more advantageous for close combat. As soon as this thought arose in the distance, a light spot suddenly lit up in the dark place far away from the city. Ray Minkai's heart trembled. He immediately controlled the fully armored pirate Gauda to hide behind the building next to him. 1. Almost at the same time, the light spot from the distance turned into a seemingly small, but deadly, irradiation beam that swept past the fully armored pirate Gauda's feet. Irradiation sniper? Jim special type? Or other sniper mech? Ray Minkai glanced at the bullet mark that was burned by the irradiation beam at the feet of the fully armored pirate Gauda and began to analyze the model of the sniper mech that launched the attack from the distance. However, before they could get a clear look at the identity of the sniper mech hidden in the darkness, they could not figure out where it came from. However, Ray Minkai had other ways to confirm the location of the sniper. The fully armored pirate Gauda stretched out his right hand from under his full armor, facing the opposite direction. Then the index finger of his right hand was bent down, revealing a small capsule launch port hidden on his wrist. As soon as the button was pressed, a capsule shot out. In the process of flying, it rapidly expanded in the blink of an eye until it became a balloon not much different from the appearance of the fully armored pirate Gauda Buzz. Pa! With a flash of light, the balloon disguised as the fully armored pirate Gauda burst. Even though the camouflage balloon did not last more than a second, it allowed Ray Minkai to clearly see the direction of the sniper. Over there! Ray Minkai's eyes flashed. The fully armored pirate Gauda moved in an instant, shuttling back and forth among the many buildings of different heights, constantly using irregular maneuvers to try to get closer to the direction where the sniper had been roughly identified. Buzz! 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 The process of sprinting was not smooth. After being discovered by Ray Minkai, the sniper mech hidden in the darkness did not show any signs of changing its sniping location. Instead, it chose to stay in the same place as before, trying to seize any opportunity to snipe the fully armored pirate Gauda. Is it proud of its sniping skills? Or is there another helper? Ray Minkai's thoughts started to become active as the distance shortened. The opponent's behavior of staying in the same place without fear was undoubtedly against the sniper's principles. If it could make an experienced sniper stay in the same place, then it meant that there must be something else around the sniping location. Thunder? Or is there another mech lying in ambush around it? With such doubts under the control of Ray Minkai, the fully armored pirate Gauda rushed to the approximate range where he could see the sniper mech clearly. However, the fully armored pirate Gauda suddenly stopped and once again dodged behind the building at the side. This feeling. Ray Minkai's gaze wandered around the screen. That's right. There is indeed another enemy. Suddenly, the moment this conclusion was reached, the roaring sound of the wind exploded from the right side of the fully armored pirate Gauda Buzz. Zila. The beam chopper rumbled out from the hands of the fully armored pirate Gouda and collided with the beam saber that suddenly appeared from the void and heavily slashed towards the back of the fully armored pirate Gouda. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Palovsky particles continuously roared, and energy lightning burst out from the collision of the particles between the two beam combat weapons. The light illuminated the fully armored pirate Gouda and the unknown mech that suddenly exploded and launched a sneak attack. In that instant, Ray Minkai saw the true appearance of the sneak attacker from the flickering light. Assault special type? That's right. The unknown mech that appeared in front of Ray Minkai and launched a sneak attack on the fully armored pirate Gouda was the MS from Gouda's manga, Gouda's katana. Other than the Gouda's head, its most prominent feature was the spiritual sensing AI system that was mounted on the head, named Demon Blade. As long as the Demon Blade system was activated, it could stimulate the pilot to awaken to the new type and unleash a combat power that was stronger than any gym. Demon Blade system? Ray Minkai softly muttered the name of the mech that launched the sneak attack in front of him. After that, he controlled the fully armored pirate Gouda to swing with all his might and forced the approaching assault special type away. What happened next made Ray Minkai feel even more dignified. Disappeared. The moment the fully armored pirate Gouda forced the assault special type away, the assault special type that had yet to land on the ground completely disappeared in the blink of an eye before Ray Minkai's eyes. Mirage system? Or is it an invisibility system from other Gouda's works? Mirror Gouda? Ray Minkai's doubts did not last for more than a few seconds. A tremor from the bottom of his heart made Ray Minkai immediately move the fully armored pirate Gouda to the side of another building. Swoosh! At that critical moment, the sniper mech that was supposed to stay put took advantage of the battle between the fully armored pirate Gouda and the assault special type to secretly move to a position where it could aim at the fully armored pirate Gouda. The moment the assault special type went invisible, it launched an attack. If it wasn't for Ray Minkai's intuition warning him in time, the fully armored pirate Gouda would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. But, because of this, Ray Minkai was able to clearly see the identity of the sniper mech that had been hiding in the darkness. Sniper Jim's special type. It turned out that the sniper mech that had been hiding in the darkness, waiting for an opportunity to launch a fatal attack on the fully armored pirate, was Sniper Jim's special type. This is the special type team? After seeing the true identity of the team that launched the surprise attack, Ray Minkai smiled helplessly. Although he smiled, the battle still continued. After discovering that his sniper attack had failed again, Sniper Jim's special type decisively got up and quickly moved to another location, not giving the fully armored pirate Gouda any time to react. Moreover, on the other side, the assault special type that was hiding in the shadows of the city, using some temporarily unknown invisibility technology, once again launched a new round of surprise attacks on the fully armored pirate Gouda. One retreating and one attacking, such tacit coordination. Sinman didn't say that there would be a small team of participants among the contestants. Did that director come up with this? The wind blew again. The fully armored pirate Gouda's beam-chopping saber once again swung out. In the flash of the sword, the silhouette of the assault special type once again appeared in front of the fully armored pirate Gouda's eyes. Only this time, the assault special type only used his left hand to wield the beam saber, while his empty right hand held a piece of equipment that looked very similar to a brass knuckle. Although this item didn't look very shocking, but it made Ray Minkai's expression instantly turn vigilant. This was the electric brass knuckle. It was also the electric therapy that the miscellaneous soldier OL, mech warrior OL, players often talked about. As long as he was hit, the fully armored pirate Gouda would definitely experience a moment of stagnation. At that time, the Sniper Jim's special type that had been waiting for a long time would most likely launch a fatal attack, causing the fully armored pirate Gouda to die on the battlefield with a grievance. How can I let you have your way? Don't think that you're the only one who can use electric therapy. Ray Minkai's right hand turned, and a series of equipment slots popped out, and quickly stopped at the hook claw, pressing the button in an instant. Purring! The moment the assault special type attacked with the electric brass knuckle, the hook claw at the waist of the fully armored pirate Gouda also popped out at the same time, accurately catching the assault special type's right fist. Zalala! Two powerful electric currents collided in an instant. Purring! At the same time an explosion sounded. The fully armored pirate Gouda's hook claw and the assault special type's electric brass knuckle were both blown to smithereens. Even the assault special type's right fist had 2 fingers blown off, ending up in a crippled state. Once he saw that his surprise attack didn't work, and instead suffered a loss, the assault special type didn't continue to fight. After a feint, he quickly retreated, trying to enter stealth mode again, looking for the next opportunity to launch a surprise attack on the fully armored pirate Gouda. However, Ray Minkai didn't want to give him another chance. Because Ray Minkai didn't want to drag this out any longer. Whether it was wandering around the periphery, looking for the sniper Jim that could snipe the fully armored pirate Gouda, or the assault special type in front of him, Ray Minkai felt that it was troublesome, very troublesome. Putting aside the sniper Jim, just this assault special type that had been magically modified to have the ability to become invisible was already big enough trouble. Thus, the fully armored pirate Gouda's figure moved, and rushed in front of the assault special type that was trying to retreat, and at the same time entering stealth mode. In that instant, the fully armored pirate Gouda's beam-chopping saber once again swung out, directly aiming at the chest of the assault special type. 1. It stopped. The assault special type's retreat stopped, and the half-activated stealth mode also stopped, causing the assault special type's blurry body to become clear again. The thing that forced it to withdraw from stealth mode was the beam-chopping saber swung by the fully armored pirate Gouda. In order to not be cut in half, the assault special type could only choose to raise his left hand and activate the high-output beam fist blade on it, blocking the fully armored pirate Gouda's beam-chopping saber in front of him. Don't think that this is the end. Ray Minkai coldly snorted. The fully armored pirate Gouda's left hand clenched into a fist, and the beam shield on his forearm moved forward, fixing in front of his left fist. 1. When defending, it was the beam shield. When attacking, it was the beam-branded claw. Then, the fully armored pirate Gouda's eyes flashed, and the beam-branded claw on his left fist broke through the void, madly rushing towards the chest of the assault special type. As long as it landed a solid hit, the assault special type would either die or be crippled. However, at this crucial moment, that familiar palpitating feeling appeared once again, causing Ray Minkai's heart to ring an alarm. Shwa! The air was split open. The irradiating beam that angered Ray Minkai appeared once again, forcing Ray Minkai to give up on the plan of using the fully armored pirate Gouda's beam-branded claw to pierce the chest of the assault special type. Instead, he changed the beam-branded claw into a beam shield, blocking the irradiating beam that angered Ray Minkai to no end. Slow in speech, quick in action. Taking advantage of the fact that the fully armored pirate Gouda's fierce offensive was interrupted, the assault special type immediately seized the opportunity, and with a move of its feet, it once again retreated. However, even though it wanted to leave, Ray Minkai wasn't willing to let it go. The hook claw attacked once again. With a flash, the assault special type that should have been caught by the hook claw actually disappeared in front of the fully armored pirate Gouda's eyes, and in the blink of an eye, appeared not too far away. Gale Thunderbolt? How is this possible? The skills in the game have become real? With a glance, he saw through the peculiarity of the assault special type. Ray Minkai couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. However, no matter how surprised Ray Minkai was, the assault special type's successful escape was already a fact. If this continued, the one who would lose would only be Ray Minkai himself. the light of the beam-chopping saber instantly faded. The fully armored pirate Gouda, who was holding the shield in his left hand, blocking the sniper Jim's special-type sniper, swiped his empty right hand behind his waist. A black bolt of lightning instantly exploded, and with the speed of a spark, it swept through the air, and like a gangrene attached to the bone, it plunged into the assault special-type's foot. Caw! A crisp sound rang out. This meant that the assault special-type's movements had been obstructed. The black bolt of lightning that pierced through the assault special-type's right leg was actually an iron whip made from an incomparably tough steel cable and an incomparably sharp barbed drill. The fully armored pirate Gouda used this long enough iron whip to bind the assault special-type's right leg, forcing it to be unable to use the Gale Thunderbolt, move that was close to replicating the game's Gale Thunderbolt teleportation. Come here. Ray Minkai pulled back his right hand. The fully armored pirate Gouda holding the iron whip immediately pulled the assault special type back to his side. 1. The assault special type's hands lit up with the unique glow of a high-output beam blade. The high-output beam blade in its hands waved and chopped down at the iron whip that pierced through its right leg. TSK. Ray Minkai's fingers moved. The fully armored pirate Gouda's head continuously fired with the Vulcan cannon, continuously creating a series of sparks on the assault special type's body. Tut 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 tut. Amidst the bursts of sparks, the assault special model seemed unable to hold on any longer. He could only raise his arms to block his chest and head. Good chance. Once the iron whip was retracted, the assault special type was dragged before the fully armored pirate Gouda without any resistance. Da-da-da-da. Just like how the fully armored pirate Gouda used the Vulcan cannon in his head, the assault specials used their own Vulcan cannon in their head as the only weapon they could use to launch a counterattack. However, the moment it fired its Vulcan cannon, the fully armored pirate Gouda, who had lost the control of Jim's special armored sniper, lifted his right foot. Crack! The thermal dagger hidden in his right foot popped out in an instant and ruthlessly stepped on the head of the assault special type. Caw caw caw. With a series of crisp sounds, the head of the assault special type was no longer able to withstand Gouda's stomp. The fully armored pirate Gouda's right hand shook. The iron whip that was tied to the assault special type's right leg trembled and obediently returned to the fully armored pirate Gouda's hand. This was the first time Ray Minkai used the pirate Gouda's whip. From the looks of it, it was pretty good. So it really is just a temporary teammate? Ray Minkai looked left and right. He could no longer find any trace of Jim's special armored sniper. Perhaps after discovering that the assault special type was suppressed by the fully armored pirate Gouda, he decisively abandoned this teammate. If not for this, all he needed to do was change his sniping position in time while the fully armored pirate Gouda was controlling the assault special type with his whip, and he could have saved the assault special type. In reality, the assault special type did not do that. Instead, it quietly left the city inside the armed satellite fortress. What a heartless teammate. Ray Minkai glanced at it. After losing the head that was equipped with the Sword Genius system, the assault special type was undoubtedly a useless body. He then controlled the fully armored pirate Gouda to swing his Zamadeo and cut it in half, completely eliminating any chance of revival. Kai. The connection with the Steel Eagle has been restored. It's just that the environment it's in now isn't too good. When UFFI's voice sounded, it brought bad news. What's going on? Although I don't know what caused it, the Steel Eagle is now in one of the Nakus of the armed satellite fortress, and there seems to be a fierce battle happening around this Naku. If this continues, I'm afraid that the Steel Eagle parked in the Naku will be affected. Not only Euphemia, but even Ray Minkai himself could not understand why the Steel Eagle, which was supposed to attack together, would appear in the Naku's area instead of the fully armored pirate Gouda's area. However, it did not prevent them from understanding the current situation. Without the Steel Eagle, the fully armored pirate Gauda was just an ordinary steel pulla model. For the upcoming competition, no matter how difficult it was, Ray Minkai had to retrieve the Steel Eagle. Chapter 114. The situation is not good. Sitting on the sofa, Cinnamon touched her white beard and murmured, "Is it because the Steel Eagle didn't appear with the pirate Gauda?" Merida was silent for a moment, then said the key information. Although I don't know how they made the two mechs appear in different places at the same time, the current situation is temporarily solved. I just don't know how Guy and UFFI will deal with it next." Merida was also thinking about what Guy and UFFI should do next. But even if Merida came up with a solution, they couldn't tell Guy and UFFI. Entering the game room was equivalent to being isolated from the world. The game hasn't ended, or Guy and UFFI's mechs haven't been destroyed. Outsiders can't affect anything in the game room. They can only sit quietly in the spectator room and watch the game. Now, we can only watch this game from the sidelines. Cinnamon's eyes fell on the virtual screen projected on the floor-to-ceiling glass. At this time, it showed that the fully armored pirate Gauda was quickly leaving the city inside Axis and turning into a road that could quickly reach Naku. UFFI, how far is it from Naku? It's at the next turn. Suddenly, Ray Minkai's eyes changed, and the fully armored pirate Gauda immediately stopped in place, turned around, and tightly stuck to the stone wall next to him. "Guy! There's movement!" Boom! A low roar came from the corner, and at the same time, a flickering light could be seen. "It's a battle!" On the other side of the corner, a battle that Ray Minkai and Euphemia didn't expect was happening. UFFI, did it spread from Naku? No, the Steel Eagle's detector doesn't have this information. The battle near Naku is still ongoing. I'm afraid it's someone else in front. Euphemia glanced at the data fed back from the Steel Eagle and shook her head. Understood. The fully armored pirate Gauda moved again. But this time, he was careful and cautious. Boom. However, before the fully armored pirate Gauda approached the corner, a black shadow suddenly flew out from the other side of the corner and slammed into the stone wall. In the loud explosion, cracks extended from the back of the black shadow, like a spider web crazily spreading in all directions. The gravel and dust that were torn apart by the crack also fell from the top at this moment, quickly burying more than half of the black shadow that was sent flying backward and fiercely smashed into the stone wall. Amidst the rolling sand and dust, the pale red light flickered a few times, as if it had exhausted all its strength to show its existence. In the end, it exhausted all its vitality and fell into death. Gozaga? Even if half of the shadow was buried by the dust, Ray Minkai could still recognize the true body of the black shadow from the single eye and other more prominent features. Boom! A loud explosion sounded. The fully armored pirate Gauda immediately took a few steps back and put on a defensive posture. Ray Minkai felt that the other existence that killed Gozagu was walking towards him with heavy footstep. Is it to confirm his battle record? Ray Minkai's mind moved, and a beam rifle appeared in the hands of the fully armored pirate Gauda. Then, the muzzle moved up, pointed at Gozagu, and shot a beam. Hum! The moment the Palovsky particles roared, a hole suddenly appeared in the body of Gozagu, who had fallen into dead silence. Then, in a burst of electric sparks, a violent explosion blew Gozagu's body, which should have been intact, into pieces. Amidst the billowing smoke, the heavy footsteps that were heading towards them stopped. In the flickering flames, the fully armored pirate Gauda's back was elongated, until the flames couldn't illuminate the darkness. Hum 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 hum. The beam rifle in the hands of the fully armored pirate Gauda was hung back on his waist, and it was replaced by the Zanmadeo. The particles, under the effect of the retractor, constantly vibrated the air and outlined an invincible blade aura in the air. Ray Minkai calmed down and looked at the corner with caution, waiting for the moment to launch a surprise attack. And the opponent was probably the same. When enemies meet on a narrow path, the brave wins. In this corner, which was less than 40 degrees, whoever took the first step would have the right to launch the first attack. Whether it was Rei Minkai or the opponent, they weren't willing to give such a great opportunity to the opponent. This silent confrontation was still ongoing. Even if the explosion that destroyed Gazago's body turned into dead silence, even if the billowing smoke quietly dissipated, this confrontation separated by the corner still continued. Suddenly, in this dead silence, a soft sound echoed without warning in the tunnel leading to Neku, and it also broke the confrontation at this moment. This soft sound was like the bell that signaled the start of the game. In an instant, it broke the tense nerves of Rei Minkai and the opponent. The two of them controlled their bodies to rush to the corner, waved the blades in their hands, and slashed at the enemy who also rushed out from the corner. Zap! Hum, hum, hum. The sound of the collision between the beam and the sword exploded, and the fully armored pirate Gouda immediately retreated. Although this was a battle between steel pulla, Rei Minkai still felt an indescribable, incomparably deep sense of oppression. Until he saw the huge body blocking in front of him, Rei Minkai finally understood what this incomparably deep sense of oppression represented. But, oh, Tio, there's actually a reserve member using this body? Rei Minkai's pupils shrank, and he instinctively controlled the fully armored pirate Gouda to retreat a few steps, and coincidentally dodged two beam sword attacks from Tio's mechanical arm. UFFI big trouble. Other than this way, is there any other way? Looking at Tio's body that was larger than the fully armored pirate Gouda, Rei Minkai knew that in this narrow tunnel, it was impossible to deal with Tio. Looking, Kai, give me some time. UFFI already knew about the predicament in front of her. Without Rei Minkai's reminder, she would begin to search for another way out herself. Rei Minkai nodded, no longer saying anything, and focused on dealing with Tio's attack. In addition to the beam swords controlled by Tio's two hands, the mechanical arm hidden in the skirt armor was fully extended, and slashed towards the fully armored pirate Gouda. The sword flashed, for beam swords under Tio's brandishing seemed to be blocking all the escape routes of the fully armored pirate Gouda, forcing the fully armored pirate Gouda to be forced to fight with it. Perhaps Gazago, who was sent flying just now, was also forced into a dead end like this. However, the fully armored pirate Gouda was different. Rei Minkai was even more different. This combination of pilot and body would not be like Gazago, who rashly attacked Tio just now. After all, from the beginning, Rei Minkai's goal was not Tio at all, but to reach Neku in the shortest time, with the fastest speed, and retrieve the Steel Eagle. This was Rei Minkai's plan. Kai found it. Turn back, there is a passage on the southeast side that can also lead to Neku. It's just a bit of a detour. At this time, Euphemia's voice sounded with a hint of excitement. Understood. Rei Minkai responded. The fully armored pirate Gouda stretched out his left hand, touched his waist, and the iron whip was in his hand. A black bolt of lightning once again flew past the fully armored pirate Gouda's hand. After drawing a curved flight path in the air like a fast-moving snake, it plunged into the left side of Tio's skirt armor, piercing through it in one breath. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the iron whip was stretched taut. Tio's pilot seemed to have seen through the fully armored pirate Gouda's plan. He immediately decided to use force to break the skill, taking advantage of this opportunity to forcefully pull the fully armored pirate Gouda to his side and tear him apart. However, Rei Minkai did not intend to fight with Tio. The reason why he suddenly threw out the whip was because Rei Minkai wanted to break Tio's mechanical arm from the beginning. The fully armored pirate Gouda's left hand moved slightly. A weak but rhythmic vibration immediately caused the taut iron whip to twist. Immediately after, the moment Tio exerted force and tried to pull the fully armored pirate Gouda to his side, the taut iron whip twisted rapidly like a fried dough twist. Tio's pilot was so scared that he quickly increased the strength of the pull, trying to pull the fully armored pirate Gouda to his side as fast as possible. In the end, bang! The iron whip snapped. Tio, who used too much force, retreated a few steps back. He had no choice but to use more force to balance the body. When he raised his head to look at the fully armored pirate Gouda's position, the fully armored pirate Gouda had already left the passage and took a detour. Boom! The pilot's resentment followed the beam sword in Tio's hand as it smashed into the stone wall, causing a series of explosions. Only then did he turn around and move towards Neku. He knew that since the fully armored pirate Gouda had chosen this path, then his target would definitely be Neku. It's not over yet. UFFI, it's not over yet. Concentrate and pay attention to your surroundings. Rei Minkai said almost the same words. Euphemia nodded, indicating that she already knew. The retreat just now was a last resort. Even though Rei Minkai had the intention to fight against Tio, he could only choose to retreat temporarily due to the limited terrain. In that narrow terrain, Tio's body was so huge that it could almost fill up the entire passage. No matter who it was, they would feel a chill when they saw the four beam swords swinging back and forth. Chapter 115. In his previous life, Rei Minkai, who was one of the players in the OL, still remembered the era when he was ruled by Iron Gungun. That was the most terrifying, most unbearable memory of the era. Rei Minkai shook his head. His mouth helplessly hung a trace of a bitter smile. He didn't expect that after his rebirth, he would once again face the terrifying pressure of Tio. Let's just treat it as a test. Rei Minkai cheered himself up like this, under Euphemia's instructions. He rushed forward and arrived in front of Neku. Boom! 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 Sure enough, the battle that occurred near Neku almost completely enveloped the surrounding roads around Neku. Rei Minkai looked left and right, and discovered that no matter which direction he broke through, he would be discovered by the two sides of the battle, and would be able to attack the intruder at the first moment. Perhaps this was the reason why the two sides of the battle could so unscrupulously launch the most fatal and most intense attacks on the enemy in front of them. UFFI, can you let Steel Eagle come and join us? Rei Minkai pondered for a few minutes, and then asked Euphemia. Yes. But in the current situation, if we rashly let Steel Eagle come out, I'm afraid we will become their target. Euphemia nodded, then shook her head, and pointed at the two sides that were in the midst of a fierce battle and said. Rei Minkai nodded, and set his gaze on the two sides of the battle. On one side was Dragonflight. The whole body of the Dragonflight was painted black and gold. Although Rei Minkai could recognize from the general outline that it was Dragonflight, the weapons that the black-gold Dragonflight was equipped with made Rei Minkai's eyes light up. The black-gold Long Fei was equipped with a large-caliber high-output beam cannon, a missile hive on both his forearms, and other weapons that had never appeared on the original Long Fei were all equipped with this Long Fei. The other side, on the other hand, was much stranger. Have you seen a demon crab that can go into space? Rei Minkai not only saw it, but he also saw the demon crab pull out a beam sword that was at least 10 meters long from its thigh. Space crab? How is that possible? And it pulled out a big sword. Rei Minkai, who had been quite shaken by the universe demon crab, was almost charred by the light beam sword in the next second. Kai. How did you? Euphemia, who didn't know much about the Steel Pulla model, and even the Gouda series, couldn't understand Rei's feelings, and could only look at Rei Minkai. No. It's just a moment of feeling. UFFI, get ready. The dragon space of the spaces, the space of the dragon flight of the dragons, the dragon spaces S. Now, Rei Minkai was waiting for an opportunity. An excellent opportunity for the Steel Eagle to successfully meet with the fully armored pirate Gouda. As long as the two successfully met, even if he encountered the previous Tio, Rei Minkai dared to fight against him. The Steel Eagle didn't only have the holy slaying sword. The big sword in the space crab's hand slashed at the black gold dragonflight, but it was dodged by the black gold dragonflight with excellent maneuverability. In the end, it destroyed the command center building behind the black gold dragonflight. Boom! The moment the hot particles hit the building, a strong energy wave burst out, and everything around it was involved in an explosion. Billowing smoke rose into the air, and in an instant, it almost completely blocked the vision of the black gold dragonflight and the space crab. Opportunity! UFFI! Lamenkai's eyes flashed with a bright light as he shouted loudly. Then, the fully armored pirate Gouda lowered his body slightly, and the X-type thruster on his back immediately exploded. In a flash, the fully armored pirate Gouda flew into the air, trying to shorten the distance between him and the steel eagle under the cover of the billowing smoke. Suddenly, a beam of light broke through the thick smoke from the bottom to the top, brushed past the fully armored pirate Gouda, and hit the high dome of the stone wall. Boom! The explosion and gravel enveloped the fully armored pirate Gouda at this moment. But the fully armored pirate Gouda did not retreat. Instead, he increased the thrust of the thruster and rushed at Neku at full speed. Although Ray Minkai already knew that the opponent had discovered the presence of the fully armored pirate Gouda after the first attack missed, they lost the possibility of sniping the fully armored pirate Gouda. Because, not only was the gravel splashing down from the dome fast, but there was also a huge figure that rushed out from the tunnel that Ray Minkai and the others had originally planned to use, but was forced to abandon. Tio. Yes. It appeared again. This time, Tio was no longer the enemy of the fully armored pirate Gouda, but the most ferocious and deadly hunter, in order to kill all the prey in front of him. From the thick smoke, the fully armored pirate Gouda flying in the air was not in Tio's eyes. At this moment, in Tio's eyes, there was only the black gold dragonflight and the space crab. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The 4 beam swords in Tio's hands roared with a thirst for battle, a thirst for blood. In this roar, the pressure that Ray Minkai felt before was also felt by the black gold dragonflight and the space crab. In the face of a powerful enemy, the black gold dragonflight and the space crab actually lowered their stance at the first moment and joined hands to attack the most deadly Tio. The missile hive in the hands of the black gold dragonflight fired continuously. The missiles dragged a long trail of smoke in the air and surrounded Tio, brazenly launching the most deadly attack. Buzz! X4. Tio did not seem to care about these missile hives. He simply waved the beam swords in his hands and was able to neatly break the missile attack that was undoubtedly a dead end for ordinary pilot. Suddenly, a dazzling light lit up behind Tio. At this moment, the words of victory seemed to be heard from the body of the space crab. Got it! The 10-meter-long beam sword slashed down towards Tio's back. As long as he managed to land a solid hit on Teo, Teo would definitely lose his life and would no longer exist in this Steelpula battle arena. However, things would not always go so smoothly. The moment the 10-meter-long beam sword was about to hit Teo's back, a faint but unusually bright light suddenly rose from Teo's back and firmly blocked the beam sword in the hands of the space crab. What? This was an unbelievable scene. Teo's hands and the pair of mechanical arms were under the surveillance of the black gold dragonflight. It was impossible for him to turn back and block the beam sword of the space crab. Just as the space crab and the black gold dragonflight were shocked, an even more shocking scene happened. Armor. The thick armor on Teo's body actually collapsed. This was not caused by the beam sword in the hands of the space crab. This was caused by Teo himself activating some unknown function. Amidst the dazzling light emitted by the light beam sword, the fat Tai Ao actually stretched out his hand from the crumbling pieces of armor 1, 2, 3, a total of 4 mechanical arms. Moreover, in addition to these 4 mechanical arms, 2 identical heads rose from the left and right sides of Teo's originally pointed head, connecting with the original head. If Ray Minkai saw this scene, he would probably exclaim in surprise. F***CK. Isn't this the legendary three-headed, six-armed monster? However, Ray Minkai was now focused on meeting up with the Steel Eagle, so he was unable to witness the shocking scene of Tio's explosive transformation with his own eyes. And the black gold dragon flight and the space crab, who were lucky enough to witness this scene with their own eyes, chose to retreat at the same time. The other party revealed his trump card so casually in front of them, which meant that the other party was confident that he could kill them here. If they didn't run now, when would they? But although the idea was perfect, the result was very bony. After the three-headed, six-armed Tio abandoned the heavy armor, his mobility actually increased by a large margin. In the blink of an eye, he caught up with the excellent mobility of the black gold dragon flight. In order to save its life from the beam sword, the black gold dragon flight suddenly turned around and poured all the high-explosive missiles on its wings at Tio. They didn't want to kill, they only wanted to delay Tio for a while. Boom! 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 The high-explosive missiles set off a series of explosions in front of Tio. The flames and smoke produced by the explosions were enough to envelop Tio, making it unable to pursue the black gold dragon flight. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the black gold dragon flight turned around again and had already activated its segmented transformation, accelerating at full speed to escape from Tio's sword. But before it could fly far, a beam sword flew out from the billowing smoke and pierced through its heart. It slammed straight into the ground, splashing sand and dust. A huge body walked out of the flames. The pressure that seemed to ignore everything made the billowing smoke even more ferocious and thicker. Tio. The three-headed, six-armed Tio stepped forward, stepping on the flames, and arrived in front of the black gold dragon flight that had failed to escape and fallen to the ground. He raised his hand. The sword fell. The black gold dragon flight was cut in half. Suddenly, the moment the wreckage of the black gold dragon flight was cut in half by Tio's sword, the 10-meter-long beam sword rose from behind Tio once again. However, this was still futile. Tio, who had been magically modified with 3 heads and 6 arms, was not afraid of attacks from any direction. No matter which direction, the attacks could be captured by Tio and blocked with the beam sword. Therefore, the current Tio with 3 heads and 6 arms did not need that cumbersome heavy armor. The current Tio was the perfect Tio. The invincible Tio. The short space crab held its 10-meter-long beam sword and retreated continuously. It barely managed to stabilize its body and offset the impact of Tio's heavy slash. It was in a dilemma. Chapter 116. Tai Ao, who was much taller than the Universe Demon Crab and had a huge body, stood in front of the Universe Demon Crab with an absolute advantage in terms of size. He looked so terrifying and terrifying. Even though the Space Crab was modified into a magical body that could enter the universe and held a long beam sword, it still couldn't fight against the super magically modified Tio that had exceeded most people's imagination. Swoosh! 2 beams of light rushed toward the space crab, one from the left and one from the right. The space crab was shocked and hurriedly blocked with its sword. But even the beam sword in its hand, which was absolutely not inferior to any high-output beam sword, was still so powerless in the face of the super magically modified Tio's attack. Boom! Under the attack of the super magically modified Tio, the space crab flew backward and slammed into a building not far away. In the blink of an eye, the entire building was shaken by the violent impact. Countless rubble also scattered from the top of the space crab, at the same time burying it. Boom! The super magically modified Tio's thrusters roared. It wanted to take advantage of the excellent opportunity when the space crab couldn't move and end the space crab. But the moment the super magically modified Tio's beam sword was about to pierce the space crab, buried in the rubble, the space crab's chest suddenly burst open, revealing a sharp blade tip. Someone took the initiative to kill the space crab. The super magically modified Tio seemed to be stunned by the blade tip that suddenly pierced through the space crab's chest. It watched the blade tip start from the chest to the head of the space crab, and split the space crab in half. Boom! At the moment when the space crab exploded, the super magically modified Tio quickly retreated until it was a safe distance away. It stopped and looked at the collapsed building from the two violent impacts. Under the microgravity, the time that the sand danced in the air seemed to have become longer. However, this did not have much to do with the situation at hand. In the eyes of the super magically modified Iron Mysteries pilot, the only thing that could make him focus and take back his playful attitude was the murderous aura that made the rolling sand in the air quietly disperse. In the rolling sand, a black figure appeared. The moment it appeared, the super magically modified Tio pilot's eyes narrowed slightly. It's him? Yes. He had already recognized the true appearance of the third party who had interfered and taken away the universe demon crab's head. It was the fully armored pirate Gouda. He did not expect that the fully armored pirate Gouda, who fled to Neku in the rolling dust at the beginning of the battle, would appear in front of him. He thought that the fully armored pirate Gouda was scared away by his own Tio. So he was hiding in the dark and waiting for an opportunity to attack? The super magically modified Tio pilot's eyes moved down and fell on the fully armored pirate Gouda's right hand. There was a piece of equipment that he had never seen before, nor had he ever seen in the hands of the fully armored Gundams. It was a gigantic sword. But from the looks of the blade, it was enough to be half the size of the fully armored pirate Gouda. No, it was probably even bigger. As long as such a huge blade appeared, it would definitely attract the attention of others. Not to mention the super magically modified Tio pilot who paid special attention to close combat equipment. The blade had feather-like patterns. At the end of the crimson blade was a sword guard in the shape of an eagle's head. Further back, the fully armored pirate Gouda held the sword hilt in his hand. Furthermore, there was a faint shadow of a pair of sharp eagle claws at the protruding ridge in the middle of the sword. This made the huge sword seem both beautiful and strange. Such a strange equipment made the super magically modified Iron AO pilot's heart skip a beat. Subconsciously, he adopted a slightly more conservative strategy and decided to test the power of the huge blade before deciding on anything else. The attitude of the super magically modified Tio surprised Rei Minkai a little. In fact, from the moment the super magically modified Tio exploded its armor and transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms, Rei Minkai and UFFI had already completed the rendezvous with the Steel Eagle. They hid in Neku and quietly watched the battle. Like the super magically modified Tio pilot, Rei Minkai also wanted to observe as much as possible. By relying on the combat power of the Black Gold Dragon Flight and the Space Crab, he suddenly transformed into the legendary super magically modified Tio with 3 heads and 6 arms. Do you really think you're a god? Lei Minkai could not help but mutter to himself as he watched the super magically modified Tio, who had transformed into a 3-headed, 6-armed super magically modified Tio effortlessly take down the Black Gold Dragon and the Cosmic Crab, who were still fighting fiercely, as if he was cutting vegetables. But then again, that almost omnidirectional attack and defense was enough to make most people feel troubled. Especially in this area of Neku, which was not very spacious, and in the limited space under the stone dome with a height limit, the maneuvering space was severely compressed. This near-invincible melee mode of attack and defense was enough for the super magically modified Tio to dominate this area. However, in the face of the near-invincible super magically modified Tio, the fully armored pirate Gouda still had to fight with it. Otherwise, Rei Minkai would not be able to leave this area at all. Because, just now, Euphemia suddenly discovered something very bad from the Steel Eagle's detection system. The port connected to Neku seemed to have been blocked by some unknown people. As soon as Rei Minkai heard this news, a very bad idea flashed through his mind. he remembered clearly that he was now in the inner part of Achilles. And right now, Axis's orbit was in the Earth's circle. Could it be not good? Ray Minkai said. Feeling Ray Minkai's worry, Euphemia immediately cast an inquiring look. UFFI, it seems that we can't keep the Steel Eagle secret until the end this time. Ray Minkai, who quickly made a decision, shook his head and revealed a firm look. I will fully support you, Kai. Euphemia did not ask anything. She only knew that Ray Minkai had cleared his doubts and made what he thought was the most correct decision. Steel Eagle, second form, Flying Eagle Sword. As soon as Ray Minkai's voice sounded, Euphemia immediately reacted and sent a program to the Steel Eagle. In the blink of an eye, the Steel Eagle, which was floating next to the fully armored pirate Gouda, immediately turned its body over with its abdomen facing up and its back facing down. Then, at the same time its head turned, the hilt of the sword also extended from the eagle's open mouth and was held in the hands of the fully armored pirate Gouda. When the fully armored pirate Gouda's right hand grasped the hilt of the sword, the Steel Eagle's body, which had already begun to turn, rolled like a surging tide. In the blink of an eye, it turned into the huge sword that super magically modified Tio saw later, which was the Flying Eagle sword that Ray Minkai spoke of. 1. The fully armored pirate Gouda raised his right hand and the huge sword called Flying Eagle sword was raised and pointed at super magically modified Tio. UFFI go. Yes. A murderous aura exploded from Ray Minkai's eyes. The fully armored pirate Gouda's figure flashed and had already rushed a large distance, rushing like a gust of wind towards super magically modified Tio. The Flying Eagle sword also rolled up bursts of wind at this moment, following the fully armored pirate Gouda's footsteps and slashing towards super magically modified Tio. 1. Zap! The beam sword in super magically modified Tio's hand and the Steel Eagle's transformed Flying Eagle sword collided in an instant. The blazing flood of particles did not melt the Flying Eagle sword, which was a materialized sword, but instead showed signs of being suppressed by the materialized sword. How is this possible? Tio's beam sword is already the highest output. The super magically modified Tio's pilot could not believe his eyes. Super magically modified Tio's ever-victorious high-output beam sword was now suppressed by the fully armored pirate Gouda's Flying Eagle sword, and even showed signs of the particle flow being cut off. If this continued, the high-output beam sword in super magically modified Tio's hand would be cut in half by the Flying Eagle sword. For the mech pilots who had magically modified the Iron Mysteries, this was something that they could not accept. Therefore, other than the beam sword that was in a deadlock with the Flying Eagle sword, the other 5 arms also stirred up bursts of wind, waving the beam swords in their hands towards the fully armored pirate Gouda. In an instant, the fully armored pirate Gouda was surrounded by the beam swords of super magically modified Tio. All of his escape routes were sealed by the whistling beam sword. In this situation, in the eyes of the super magically modified Tio's pilot, it was undoubtedly a dead end. A fully armored pirate Gouda could not escape the fate of death. Die. However, Ray Minkai faced such a dead end, but still remained calm, and even had a slight smile at the corner of his mouth. Flying Eagle sword. Break. Ray Minkai exerted force with both hands, and the 2 control balls immediately rotated half a circle, and a command was instantly sent to the Flying Eagle sword. Ka! When the sword formation formed by the 6 beam swords approached, the Flying Eagle sword suddenly produced a soft sound, as if a trace of disharmonious noise was mixed into a passionate song. In an instant the sword formation was destroyed. Hum! The beam sword formation slashed down, but it could not hurt the fully armored pirate Gouda at all. Why? Because in that instant, the particle torrent spewed out by the 6 beam swords in the hands of super magically modified Tio was actually dispersed by the unknown particle waves emitted by the Flying Eagle sword. In the end, it could only graze the layer of exquisite metal coating of the fully armored pirate Gouda, and dissipated powerlessly in the air. What's going on? The super magically modified Tio's pilot was destined to not be able to get any answers. Almost at the same time, Ray Minkai let out a low roar. Flying Eagle Sword! Saint Slayer! 7 strikes! Clang! As soon as his voice fell, in an instant of an explosion, super magically modified Tio was actually sent flying by the fully armored pirate Gouda, who was much shorter than himself. Rolling powerlessly in the air, super magically modified Tio could even see the huge sword in the hands of the fully armored pirate Gouda split into 6 in a ray of light, flying towards super magically modified Tio from all directions. The fully armored pirate Gouda slightly lowered his body, and also pushed the output of the thrusters to the maximum, to the limit. Then, in a flash, the flying eagle sword in his hand, which had already reverted to its normal size, slashed down at super magically modified Tio. First strike. Broken arm. Ka. The flying eagle sword in the hands of the fully armored pirate Gouda responded to the sound, and one of super magically modified Tio's iron arms fell to the ground. In response, the fully armored pirate Gouda did not have any reaction. Instead, his body changed in midair, and quickly flew in another direction. In that direction, there was another sword that had been separated from the original flying eagle sword, and the sword's body was smaller. In the blink of an eye, the sword was in his hand. The fully armored pirate Gouda turned around and once again rushed towards super magically modified Tio in midair. Second strike. Broken arm. Just like the last time, the second sword blade fell to the ground with another pair of broken arms. The fully armored pirate Gouda turned around again and rushed towards the other sword blade at full speed. At this point, the pilot of super magically modified Tio finally came to his senses. The reason why the fully armored pirate Gouda did this was to torture and kill it. How could you possibly succeed? However, as soon as this thought appeared, a black shadow flew over from mid-air like gangrene attached to the bone and firmly clasped onto super magically modified Tio's body. Suddenly, super magically modified Tio was unable to move. It could only slowly fall to the ground under the state of microgravity. What's going on? Move! Move quickly, Tio! Don't waste your time. Tio can't move. In Ray Minkai's cold words, 1 sword, 2 swords, 3 swords. All the swords were held in the hands of the fully armored pirate Gouda, who was quickly shuttling in midair. He turned around and stabbed the parts cut off from super magically modified Tio's body into the ground. Move! Get moving, Tio! From the beginning to the end, the pilot could only watch helplessly as his body was wantonly cut back and forth by the fully armored pirate with the swords. He kept shouting, and his hands were almost exhausted as he fiddled with the control ball. In the end it was despair. All of a sudden, a bolt of black lightning flew past the supreme magically modified Tetralt, which had yet to land on the ground, and shot into the air. This is the last blow. Repent. Iron roll. Looking down at Tio, who had been turned into a human stick by him, Ray Minkai felt a burst of joy in his heart. In midair, the fully armored pirate Gouda's right foot was slightly bent, and under his foot was the thermal dagger that was usually hidden in his foot. At this moment, this thermal dagger with hidden killing intent was locked onto super magically modified Tio. Fall, Tio. This is the last blow of the 7 sacred slaying strikes. Boom! The thrusters exploded, and the fully armored pirate Gouda turned into a black bolt of lightning. Like the thunder of heavenly punishment, he went straight down, towards super magically modified Tio, who had lost all ability to move. Boom! When the thermal dagger pierced through the 3 heads of super magically modified Tio and shattered them, a violent explosion engulfed it. Chapter 117. Seeing the fully armored pirate who had destroyed the super magically modified Iron Man with a lightning-fast flying kick, Hinman could not help but heave a sigh of relief when he saw the fully armored pirate standing unscathed in the devastated area. To be honest, from the moment the super magically modified Tio exploded, Sinman was really scared. Although Sinman had lived in this steel pulla world for several years, she never thought that someone would be so bold and imaginative, transforming Tio, which was piled up with heavy armor, into a body like a god with 3 heads and 6 arms. Fortunately, the fully armored pirate Gao-da received an even more exaggerated transformation in the hands of Rei Minkai. No, it should be said that the power displayed by the Steel Eagle was beyond Sinman's imagination. Merida, when you fought with Kai before, did you feel this? Sinman pointed at the flying eagle greatsword in the hands of the fully armored pirate Gao-da and gestured. Merida pondered for a moment and nodded. I did feel that way. Although in terms of power, the Holy Slayer Greatsword is indeed one of the most powerful attacks I have seen in the Steel Pulla model, but in fact, the conditions to use it are more stringent. If it wasn't for the fact that we were testing its performance, maybe I would have activated Kshatriya's TNRSAM at the first moment and broken the Holy Slayer Greatsword. Therefore, I think that other than the Holy Slayer Greatsword, the Steel Eagle also has a second, third, and even more forms. It wouldn't be too surprising. Speaking until here, Merida smiled, seeming a little happy. From the looks of it, at most, Kai will have to spend some effort in this match. If that bureau chief didn't play any tricks in this competition. It's hard to say. Although Sinman wanted to agree with the second half of Merida's sentence, the actual situation made Sinman lack confidence. In these few years, Sinman had seen more than one person being teased by that director, and even in the end, their psychological defenses collapsed and they fell into madness. No matter what, we can only watch. Merida shook her head, and could only give this answer. Yes, let's watch. On the competition ground, Rei Minkai and UFFI both let out a sigh of relief. So far, the most troublesome enemy was defeated after the Steel Eagle transformed into the Flying Eagle Greatsword. Next, they had to find another passage to the outside world as soon as possible. As time passed, the uneasiness in Rei Minkai's heart grew stronger. As if in the invisible darkness, monsters. Suddenly, without warning, zzz. What's the situation? UFFI. Rei Minkai's expression froze and quickly asked. I don't know. Because the Steel Eagle is now in the Flying Eagle Greatsword form, the detector can't be used for the time being. Euphemia's hands quickly tapped on the virtual keyboard, but helplessly shook her head. Not good. Rei Minkai's expression darkened. If they left now and went to the next port, it might be too late. Is this the only way? UFFI, prepare the nuclear bomb. We will blow up the sealed port. Thinking like lightning, Rei Minkai suddenly made a new decision. Understood. Euphemia didn't hesitate. Instead, she quickly prepared the small nuclear bomb equipped by the fully armored pirate Gao-da according to Rei Minkai's instructions, and handed over the launch authority to Rei Minkai. The beam rifle already equipped with the small nuclear bomb was held in the right hand of the fully armored pirate Gao-da under Rei Minkai's control. Then the fully armored pirate Gao-da flew through the devastated area, and directly rushed into Neku where the Steel Eagle was. There was a path leading to the universe's port. Not long after, as the shaking that spread throughout Axis became more and more intense, the fully armored pirate Gao-da finally passed through the path that wasn't too long, but took a lot of effort from Rei Minkai, and arrived at a port buried by many rubble. Sure enough, someone really is deliberately sealing off Axis. When Rei Minkai saw the rubble that was obviously man-made, he knew that his premonition was not wrong. Axis is about to fall to Earth. The shaking that spread throughout Axis is probably caused by the gravitational influence of Earth because it is too close to Earth. Right now, the outside of Axis is probably already a sea of fire. UFFI, prepare to use the nuclear bomb. Prepare to defend against attacks and break into the atmosphere. Ray Minkai estimated the unexpected situation when using the nuclear bomb while instructing Euphemia. Understood. Let's begin. Ray Minkai took a deep breath. At this moment when Axis is very likely to start falling to Earth, Ray Minkai can't think of many methods. Using the small nuclear bomb equipped by the fully armored pirate Gauda to blast away the rubble blocking the port is the most effective method. The fully armored pirate Gauda quickly raised the beam rifle in his hand. At the muzzle, a small nuclear bomb was ready to be fired. Ray Minkai's finger moved. The muzzle of the gun spewed out sparks. At the same time, the small nuclear bomb was also in the midst of the sparks, dragging a long tail of smoke, flying out from the air and plunging into the rubble. Boom! In an instant, the entire passage was as bright as day. His ears were filled with loud rumbling sounds. The rumbling was so loud that it took away all the sound of the explosion between heaven and earth. The violent shock wave that was enough to dissipate all the obstacles in front of it crazily wreaked havoc in all directions in the port. In this violent impact, the fully armored pirate Gauda fiercely stabbed the flying eagle sword in his left hand into the ground and lowered his body as much as possible to resist the violent shockwave. Rumble! Even if they didn't personally sit in the fully armored pirate Gauda and feel the impact of the nuclear bomb explosion, Ray Minkai and Euphemia could still intuitively experience this incomparably shocking experience from the images and sounds fed back by the steel Pola combat system. This is the most powerful weapon in the world? Euphemia's small mouth slightly opened, looking at the already pure white scene with some surprise. No, this is not. UFFI is coming. Get ready. Ray Minkai shook his head and shouted in a low voice. The shock wave that wreaked havoc in the port suddenly stagnated. After less than a second of silence, it flew back at a speed faster than the explosion. As if the back button was pressed, it quickly retreated to the location of the explosion. At the same time, the fully armored pirate Gauda, who deliberately pulled out the flying eagle sword from the ground, was engulfed by the shockwave. Along the already blasted port, it quickly rushed into the empty space outside. After the white scene suddenly turned black, it immediately became bright again. At this time, a beautiful blue planet suddenly appeared in front of Ray Minkai and Euphemia. Earth? This could be said to be the first time Euphemia saw the whole picture of Earth at such a close distance. Although this was similar to what she saw on TV, because Euphemia was also one of the pilots of the fully armored pirate Gauda, the sense of presence that Euphemia experienced offset a lot of this factor. UFFI, be careful. Unlike Euphemia, who was shocked by the beautiful mother planet, the moment the fully armored pirate Gauda rushed into space, Ray Minkai had already discovered that this space was really not calm. Battle. It was the light of battle. The light beams that were constantly disappearing on the surface of Axis, and the missiles and artillery shells that were constantly exploding, all represented that there were two groups of people fighting for control of Axis. In addition, the flames that had already ignited in front of Axis represented that this huge satellite fortress had reached the final moment of falling to Earth. Is Axis going to smash Earth again? But Amulo and Shia are not here now. Suddenly, a tremor rose and spread all over Ray Minkai's body. The fully armored pirate Gauda's figure flashed, and a huge purple-red beam of light brushed past the corner of the fully armored pirate Gauda's cloak and dissipated in the atmosphere. Ray Minkai's eyes flashed and looked in the direction of the beam of light. He found that a very familiar body was slowly putting down the beam rifle in its hand and looking at the fully armored pirate Gauda from a distance. Oracle Gauda! The pitch-black paint, the huge roulette on its back, and the incomparably huge dragon knights, these characteristics made Ray Minkai recognize the origin of this body at a glance. Troublesome. Although Ray Minkai had thought that he would encounter an enemy when he rushed out of Axis, he did not expect to encounter this rather legendary body. Fortunately, except for the shot just now, Oracle Gauda did not make any other attack. He only sized up the fully armored pirate Gauda for a while, and after confirming that Rei Minkai and the fully armored pirate Gauda were not hostile, he turned around and returned to the battlefield above Axis. Was I ignored? As soon as this thought appeared, Rei Minkai rejected it. Because, in the next moment, Euphemia's reminder revealed the reason why Oracle Gauda let him go. Kai. Our altitude is rapidly decreasing. If this continues, we can only choose to break through the atmosphere. Well, let the Steel Eagle move in front of the pirate Gauda. Rei Minkai nodded and let the fully armored pirate Gauda let go of the Flying Eagle sword, allowing it to transform back into the original form of the Steel Eagle. Under the control of Euphemia, it flew in front of the fully armored pirate Gauda and became the heat-insulating layer for it to break through the atmosphere. Rei Minkai steadily controlled the fully armored pirate Gauda to land on the back of the Steel Eagle and turned the monitor screen to Axis, which had been mostly engulfed by flames. It was a huge satellite fortress covered in rolling flames. That was the Lord of Disaster, which was enough to destroy all life on Earth. If it wasn't for the fact that this was a scene simulated by the Steelper combat system, Rei Minkai really didn't know how he would feel. As his thoughts flashed, Rei Minkai once again saw the Oracle Gauda. At this time, different from the fully armored pirate Gauda, who had begun to break through the atmosphere, the Oracle Gauda stood steadily on a flight pedal and looked down at the Axis falling to Earth. Until, the moment this huge satellite fortress and the land of North America had an intimate kiss, light was born. Unparalleled, incomparably huge, the dazzling ball of light dispersed the clouds shrouding the land of North America, and also dispersed the atmosphere above the land of North America. At this moment, it was as if doomsday had arrived. Chapter 118. Who would have thought that the Steel Pulla battle system would actually play the role of the Chuanjian disaster simulation system at this moment? When they were still tens of thousands of kilometers away from North America, the fully armored pirate Gauda, who had just completed the entire process of breaking through the atmosphere, saw the gigantic mushroom cloud that took root in North America. Axis finally fell. Rei Minkai looked at the mushroom cloud that broke through the sky and almost extended into outer space, and secretly sighed. Fortunately, this is not the reality. Kai, listening to your tone, it seems like this has happened before? Euphemia covered her chest, feeling her heart beating wildly as Axis fell, and looking at the gigantic mushroom cloud that almost filled her entire field of vision, she slowly asked. Yes, it happened before, but it was stopped in the end. Now, this time, it really crashed on Earth. Rei Minkai shook his head, no longer entangled in this topic. Here, there was no Amulo or Shea, only a group of gluers who were competing with the Steel Pulla model. Perhaps it was caused by some gluer's feelings which caused Axis to fall. After casually thinking about these messy reasons, Rei Minkai focused his mind to deal with the upcoming major test. UFFI, we have to land as soon as possible and find a place where we can avoid the shock wave caused by Axis crashing into Earth. Following Rei Minkai's instructions, the Steel Eagle carrying the fully armored pirate Gauda on its back quickly descended and flew along the horizon that gradually changed from flat to uneven. After reaching a towering mountain range, the Steel Eagle slowly landed in a valley that was hundreds of meters deep in the mountain range. It's coming, Kai. The shock wave is estimated to arrive in 60 seconds. As soon as the preparations to resist the shock wave were completed, Euphemia's reminder sounded in a timely manner. Rei Minkai nodded and no longer spoke. After he hid the fully armored pirate Gauda and the Steel Eagle in the valley that was enough for them to resist Axis shock wave, he adjusted the image and tried to see the powerful impact caused by the satellite fortress crashing into Earth from another angle. At this moment, the sky was already blank. Whether it was the clouds or the breeze, they all disappeared at this moment, losing the hustle and bustle of the past, leaving only the white sun high in the sky. Ray Minkai knew that this scene would not last for long. Because, in the next moment, the nuclear winter effect caused by Axis crashing into Earth would soon arrive. As a matter of fact, a trace of gray had already appeared in the endless horizon. It was dust. It was the endless dust that was stirred up when Axis crashing into North America. At this moment, the tsunami like a tsunami, it was rapidly surging from the horizon. In less than a few minutes, the land and the sky above the giant mountain range were covered by the extremely turbulent and murderous sea of dust. Winter was coming. Seeing this scene, this word appeared in Ray Minkai's mind. Yes. Ray Minkai and Euphemia could see from the screen in front of them how the originally green trees in front of them turned into a pale world of ice and snow in an instant. Nuclear winter. Seeing a disaster phenomenon that had never appeared in the history of Lu Lucio's world, Euphemia subconsciously muttered the words she learned during this period of time. The next moment the wind was noisy. Roar! The wind was noisy and everything was silent. Under this shockwave that was so destructive that it blew away all the obstacles in front of it, the fully armored pirate Gouda and the Steel Eagle could only stay in the deepest part of the valley and wait for the shock wave to disappear. Rumble! The scene in front of them was a piece of flying sand and stones, and the real rumbling sound caused by the shock wave was in their ears. In an instant, not to mention the outside world, even the giant mountain range that gave the fully armored pirate Gouda and the Steel Eagle shelter was facing the situation of being shrouded in dust. Ray Minkai and Euphemia sighed helplessly. In the current state, even if they wanted to do something, they couldn't do it. The only thing they could do was to wait for the shock wave to dissipate. After some time, until the rumbling sound in their ears gradually faded away, until the screen was no longer filled with flying dust, the sky slowly quieted down. When the fully armored pirate Gouda and the Steel Eagle moved, countless dust and ice shards fell from their bodies and scattered on the ground. There was a burst of noise. Outside, it was still a white world of ice and snow. However, it became even more silent. Suddenly, just as the fully armored pirate Gouda and the Steel Eagle were about to leave the valley, a light spot suddenly appeared in the distance. Retreat! Ray Minkai shouted, and the fully armored pirate Gouda and the Steel Eagle immediately moved to the left and right, leaving a gap in the middle. Buzz! It was the trace of a particle beam passing by. Not far away, there was a pothole caused by a small explosion when the particle beam hit the ground. Looking at the depth of the pothole, Ray Minkai had a rough estimate in his heart. This pothole wasn't too deep. The attack should have been launched from a relatively long distance. Otherwise, there definitely wouldn't be only a pothole of this degree. Kai. It's a sniper. I've already marked the location. Euphemia's actions were very reliable and fast. Before Ray Minkai spoke, Euphemia had already prepared everything. However, Ray Minkai shook his head. No UFFI. The enemy has already left. This attack was just a greeting. Greeting? Yes, greeting. It seems that the enemy is very confident in his sniping skills, enough to make him think that he can get rid of us. Ray Minkai glanced at the pothole that wasn't too deep again. This time, he seemed to have understood what was going on with this beam attack, that even if it hit the fully armored pirate Gouda, it wouldn't cause much damage. This was a demonstration, also a provocation. Moreover, Ray Minkai also roughly knew the identity of the enemy hiding in the dark. Perhaps the enemy who launched this beam attack was the Sniper Jim special type that he had encountered in the inner city of Axis. He didn't expect that in that collision, this Sniper Jim special type could still survive and coincidentally landed in the same mountain range as him. One had to know that even if Ray Minkai wasn't clear about it at the beginning, he had finally realized it after the series of encounters just now. The fall of Axis was not accidental, It was a man-made event. In order to use the most efficient means to kill most of the reserve team members who were arranged to fight in the inner city of Axis. There was no doubt that after all the ports of Axis that could lead to the universe were sealed, the reserve team members trapped in Axis became birds in a cage that could be slaughtered. They could only watch their steel pull body disappear with the fall of Axis. If Rei Minkai didn't react in time, he would probably be one of them. Although I don't know how you escaped, now that you've delivered yourself to me, don't blame me for being rude. Rei Minkai smiled slightly and was not afraid of the enemy's provocation. A few minutes later, the steel eagle soared into the sky and circled above the mountain range. Hidden under its flashing eyes was an exquisite radar component made by Rei Minkai. Even the slightest movement in the mountain range below would not escape the detection of this radar. This was also why Rei Minkai was confident in letting the steel eagle take off even when he knew that the enemy was hiding in the dark and waiting for the opportunity to launch a fatal sniper beam. I didn't find anything strange. After searching for a while, Euphemia shook her head. Rei Minkai was not surprised. Since she was able to escape from Axis, she naturally would not easily give herself away. Otherwise, the moment he left Axis, it was very likely that he would be killed by the people who were guarding outside and caused Axis to fall. Let the Steel Eagle continue to maintain altitude. UFFI, pay more attention to the surrounding situation. Rei Minkai realized that the enemy was waiting for him to reveal a flaw. He was determined to hide until the last moment and finally made a decision. Lure the enemy. Lure the snake out of its hole. Whether it was the sniper, victory or defeat would be decided in an instant. Before shooting, before being discovered, both sides were engaging in more psychological warfare. Gusts of wind swirled on the white ice surface. As the thin ice shards flew, the fully armored pirate Gundam stepped out of the valley without any hesitation. Step by step, it walked along the mountain ridge and climbed to the top of the mountain. It looked down at the white ice field below the mountain. In the wind, in another place far away, under the sky where the Steel Eagle was circling, a looming shadow was lurking under the ice field. On its body, a layer of transparent light film that was no different from the surrounding scenery quietly covered its body. From the outside, it looked like a part of the ice field. Optical camouflage. Judging from the silhouette revealed by the optical camouflage in the visual blind spot that was difficult to cover, the enemy who issued a provocative attack to the fully armored pirate Gundam was indeed one of the special equipment combinations that fought against the fully armored pirate Gundam in Acheron, the Jim Sniper's special equipment combination. At this time, it was motionless in the shadow of the ice field. It ignored the Steel Eagle hovering above its head, and focused all its attention on the fully armored pirate Gao-da standing on the top of the mountain. Just as Rei Minkai had expected, the battle had already begun the moment it launched its provocative attack. Chapter 119. Damn. Seems like I was too sleepy last night and got the chapter count wrong. It's over. The whirlwind carried the ice dregs as it slowly wandered across the vast expanse of white ice. In a short period of time, it accumulated from small to large and rapidly grew in size. It moved forward along a trajectory that could barely be considered as a straight line. On both sides of the growing whirlwind was the mountain where the fully armored pirate Gao-da stood, and the ice field where the sniper Jim was hiding. At this moment, even if the wind was about to become a tornado that swept across the ice field, the sniper Jim who relied on optical camouflage to hide his whereabouts remained motionless. He silently laid on the ground, waiting for the moment when the pirate Gao-da revealed a flaw. There was only one chance. As long as he fired that shot, no matter what the result was, the Steel Eagle hovering under the dark clouds above his head would definitely tear him to shreds. However, if the fully armored pirate was killed before that happened, it might still have a chance to survive under the claws of the Steel Eagle that attacked in anger. Therefore, he had to wait. I didn't expect the enemy to be so patient. Looking at the seemingly calm ice field, Lei Minkai secretly sighed in admiration. He originally thought that his initiative to expose himself would lead to the enemy's attack. But unexpectedly, the enemy's patience was beyond Lei Minkai's expectations. Even if the fully armored pirate Gao De stood on the mountain top for so long without any defense, the enemy did not react at all. Then let's compete in patience. The fully armored pirate Gao De leaped down from the mountain top and landed on the ice field. Then he activated the thrusters, randomly chose a direction, and leisurely flew into the distance. Immediately after, the fully armored pirate Gao De, who had flown a distance without any obstruction, suddenly stopped. He stood motionless in the same place, allowing the gradually rolling wind to blow against his cold steel body. Just as the steel body was about to be covered by a layer of white ice armor, the fully armored pirate Gundam moved once more. As the ice shattered, the fully armored pirate Gao De had already moved forward nearly 10 meters, and his speed was getting faster and faster. However, even so, the enemy hidden in the ice field still did not move, coldly watching the fully armored pirate Gao De leave. Just like this, the fully armored pirate Gao De moved further and further away from the mountain. When the fully armored pirate Gao Da's back almost completely disappeared from the Sniper Jim's high magnification scope, the Sniper Jim lying on the ice field still did not move, as if it had become a silent ice sculpture. Not moving, still not moving. Even when the fully armored pirate Gao Da's back completely disappeared, the Sniper Jim's special still did not move. However, it could hold back its patience, lying in place, waiting for the fully armored pirate Gao Da's return. However, it did not know that due to some external factors, it had caused a slight disturbance in the optical camouflage it relied on. However, this slight disturbance was quickly pacified by the system's self-repair. However, the lurking of the Sniper Jim's special had been detected by the Steel Eagle hovering high in the sky. No matter how the pilot of the Sniper Jim's special thought, he could not imagine that the growing tornado was the culprit that caused the optical camouflage to have a slight disturbance. He could not imagine that this momentary mistake was caught by the Steel Eagle just like that. However, even so, as an experienced sniper, the moment the surrounding atmosphere changed, the Sniper Jim suddenly turned around, raised the sniper beam rifle in his hand, and shot at the Steel Eagle who had secretly swooped down from the sky to the low altitude. Hum! The low roar of the particles trembled in the wind. The hot energy surging also caused the snowflakes falling from the sky to evaporate instantly, leaving a trail of movement surrounded by hot air. It didn't hit? The pilot of the Sniper Jim's special was stunned for a moment, but he immediately reacted and controlled the Sniper Jim to move to another sniping point at full speed. As for why he did not hit the Steel Eagle that should have been hit, he did not want to find out. Because he knew that as long as he stayed here for even half a second, it meant that his failure rate would increase by 1%. In order to succeed, and in order to win, he needed to buy more time so that his beloved sniper machine, the Jim Special type, could smoothly enter the backup sniper position. Perhaps this was the only way to increase his chances of winning. Thinking of the fully armored pirate Gao Da's seemingly weak but actually extremely hard beam shield, the heart of the pilot of the Sniper Jim could not help but sink. This was the first time he encountered such a difficult opponent since he came to the Steel Pula world. The wind started to blow. The snow and ice in the sky were swept up by the roaring wind and shrouded the ice field with an earth-shattering force. In this vast white world, a black figure broke through the roaring wind and snow and came to the position where the Sniper Jim's special was lurking before. And on the left and right of this position, the Steel Eagle was once again split into two symmetrical halves and was picked up by the black figure and recombined into one. UFFI, have you locked on? Lei Minkai looked at the imprint on the ice by the Sniper Jim's special and asked. Locked on. In the fight just now, the Steel Eagle has already locked on to the enemy's whereabout. It is indeed the Sniper Jim's special that we encountered during the internal battle in Axis. Euphemia analyzed the data collected by the Steel Eagle and said the result. Yes. As expected. Ray Minkai nodded, looked at the world that had turned into a vast expanse of white, and said slowly, "It is rare that this world has shown a new stage in front of us. Then, let's begin." Understood. Steel Eagle, begin transformation. After the gale passed, the fully armored Gundam was once again equipped with a pair of strangely shaped, yet extraordinarily mighty, giant bracers. And at the connecting part of the arm guard and the fist, there was a large caliber particle cannon. This was the saint-slaying greatsword. Could it be that Ray Minkai intended to use the Steel Eagle's most powerful attack in this snowy sky? No. The answer was no. The Steel Eagle's form not only had the saint-slaying greatsword as a killer move, but also had other functions to deal with other situations. And the weather in front of them, where they could not see the road ahead, was the best time to use it. The arm guard attached to the fully armored pirate Gauda's left arm slid forward, and when it moved to the bottom of the left hand, there was a connection structure similar to an energy interface at the end. Then, the fully armored pirate Gauda clenched his right fist, and the arm guard on his right arm also stretched out, and connected with the connection structure of the arm guard below the left hand. Energy system connected, no abnormalities. Palovsky particle filling begin. Euphemia confirmed that the left and right arm guards of the Steel Eagle's transformation had been successfully connected, forming the third form of the Steel Eagle's heavy cannon, and immediately began to move. Hum, hum, hum. In the noisy wind and snow, the particles condensed and the thick muzzle extending out from the eagle's mouth became brighter and brighter, and more blazing. It was so bright that one could even see a small sun rising in the white wind and snow. The noise was so intense that it almost suppressed the sound of the wind and snow around the fully armored pirate Gauda, leaving only the real roar representing the energy roar. Beep beep. On the screen in front of them, a red dot appeared. Ray Minkai knew that this was the Sniper Jim special type that was discovered by the Steel Eagle before and quickly moved. Perhaps this Sniper Jim special type that had gradually entered a static state did not know that the moment the Steel Eagle discovered it, it had already locked onto it. The target is static. I'm afraid it has entered a state of stealth. Guy, the energy filling is complete. You can shoot at any time. Euphemia glanced at the prompt on the screen, then looked up at Ray Minkai standing in front of her and said, "Understood." Ray Minkai nodded and smiled slightly. "I have to say that sometimes luck is also a part of strength. If it weren't for this timely snowstorm, I'm afraid there wouldn't be such a good time to use the heavy artillery cannon." After that, Ray Minkai pressed his finger, and the particle light ball condensed in front of the muzzle was like a dragon's breath, sweeping all the terrifying energy it contained forward, toward the target that had already been locked on but did not know. In the next second, Ray Minkai found that the red dot on the screen moved, and it was getting faster and faster. But it was already too late. Under the cover of the snowstorm, it completed the transformation, merging, and charging of the heavy artillery cannon. It was unstoppable, and it was impossible to escape from its terrifying attack. The surging particle light beam mercilessly tore apart the white veil woven by the snowstorm to cover heaven and earth, and wantonly melted the ice field with its terrifying blazing temperature. The Sniper Jim special type that had just moved and accelerated to escape was swallowed by this terrifying particle light beam. Boom! The particle light beam disappeared, and a roar followed. Then, it was quickly buried by the noisy snowstorm not long ago. Beep! Suddenly, Ray Minkai and Euphemia found that a prompt appeared on the screen in front of them. The number of survivors is 1. The battle is over. Is it over? Looking at the prompt in front of him, Ray Minkai felt that it was a little unreal. He still clearly remembered the Oracle Gao Da's group that had thrown Axis down. How could they be gone in such a short period of time? Guy, did we win? Euphemia also could not believe what she saw and heard. Although they did not know how many reserve team members participated in this competition, judging from Sinman's reaction, there should be a lot. Even if they were locked in Axis by the Oracle Gao Da's group and thrown to Earth to be reduced to ashes, there should still be a lot of people who survived. How could it be that all of a sudden, except for himself, everyone else seemed to have been wiped out? Chapter 120. Night. In front of the huge floor-to-ceiling window, a young man in a white suit, tall and straight, blonde hair, wearing a silver mask on his face, stood with his hands behind his back. Through the glass window, he gazed at the super-cosmic city fortress, Xingyao City, which could be considered a miracle even among the many worlds. D.D. At this time, a bell rang outside the door. Come in. The door isn't locked. The masked man withdrew his gaze, turned around, and sat back in his seat. Schwa. As the automatic door opened, a young man with the same blonde hair walked in. Director. The competition is over. This is the summary report. The masked man looked at the blonde young man who had the same blonde hair as him, but much longer, and smiled, then shook his head and said, "Lay, with you in charge, I'm not worried. Leave the document here. I still want to hear about the competition." The young man called Lay was silent for a while, then nodded and sighed helplessly. "Okay. Director, I've already simplified the report as much as possible. Don't you want to see it?" Hearing this, the masked man had a playful smile on his face. "No. I've already seen too many reports today. Now I have the right to be lazy." While speaking, the masked man raised his hand and pointed at a corner of the office. There was a small mountain of over 1,000 documents piled up on top of each other. How can this be? This should be the number of documents needed in 3 days. Director, you actually finished it in 1 day? Lay looked at the small mountain of documents in disbelief. He couldn't believe that the documents that should have taken at least 3 days to finish were actually finished by the director who schemed all day long. Those documents? Don't underestimate me, Lay. These small things can't stop me at all. Otherwise, Sir Pioneer wouldn't have given me the heavy responsibility of the SPF authority. The masked man smiled confidently, showing that he was the most outstanding man. Lay was silent again. The director in front of him was indeed the most outstanding man. No matter what kind of situation it was, it wouldn't be a problem for the director. Ever since he was appointed to establish and lead the SPF authority, the SPF authority had started from zero and had grown into a behemoth that spanned across dozens of universes in less than a decade. The death match went smoothly. Every objective had been completed according to the original plan. But halfway through, there was an accident that wasn't really unexpected. Lay opened his mouth. As soon as the masked man heard this, he immediately put away his expression and listened carefully to Ray's explanation. It was not until Ray finished that he raised his own question. Accident? Was he the reserve player recommended by Sinman? If I remember correctly, his name is Ray Minkai, and he has a princess from the original mission world with him? Yes. It was him. In fact, Ray Minkai was one of the targets in the princess' last mission. He just happened to appear in front of the princess, and was then brought back to Star Glory City. Ray nodded and further explained Ray Minkai's situation. Your Highness mission? The masked man nodded. He had already recalled the background of the task that Ray had mentioned. As expected of the goddess of deviation, Beauty Star, I originally thought that the mission would allow the princess to relax, but it unintentionally led such an existence. What does the Forerunner mean? Ray rolled his eyes and looked at the masked man with disdain. He said in a bad mood, Director. Instead of asking me this question, Why don't you ask yourself? With your authority, you should be able to directly ask the Forerunner, right? That seems to be the case. The masked man was startled and slapped his forehead. Look at me, I've been dealing with so many documents that my memory is in a mess. Ray, don't give me so many documents next time. If I take care of everything by myself, what's the point of the Forerunner arranging a think tank for me? Ray couldn't help but be speechless. In order to assist the masked man, who was the director in front of him, in dealing with the growing number of official affairs of the SPF authority, the considerate Forerunner specially arranged a think tank for the director to assist him in dealing with official affairs. But Ray never would have thought that when he stuffed thousands of documents into the director's office, the director, who would occasionally make a fuss, would have the backbone to deal with all the documents by himself in one day. Okay. Next time, I'll transfer some of the less important documents to the think tank for processing, and then I'll pass them to you for final review. Ray exhaled and chose to compromise in a certain aspect. Yes, I'll leave it to you. Then, let's get back to the main topic. Why is that Ray Minkai an accident that isn't an accident? It's the steel pulla model. When Sinman proposed the proposal to the director, Ray Minkai was already one of our pawns in the death match, and he was going to win in the end. It's just that during the battle, Ray Minkai's steel pulla model was a bit strange. Ray resigned himself to his fate and took out his personal terminal. He opened a holographic projection on it and pointed at the pirates Gouda and the Steel Eagle. Pirate Gouda? Not bad. But is this airframe original? As the director of the administration that managed dozens of universes, the masked man immediately recognized the identities of the pirates Gouda and the Steel Eagle. Yes, this is called the Steel Eagle. It was designed and built by Ray Minkai and his empire's princess. On the surface, there's nothing special about it. But in the actual battle, this Steel Eagle has at least 3 forms. The first form is similar to the huge GN particle sword released by the GN Sword 3 used by the Pioneer's Phoenix when she opened TNRSAM. The second form is a large physical sword that can release at least 6 blades at the same time. With the combination of these blades, the Pirate Gouda can make a 7-hit combo. The third form is the heavy artillery cannon. This is a relatively common armed configuration in our administration's military establishment. There's no need to say more about this. The masked man heard this and pondered for a moment. Based on what you're saying, Lei Minkai was able to unleash a super attack with a reality series mech? Yes. Although there are such teammates among our administration's personnel. But by the time they were able to do this, they were already the backbone of our agency. For Ray Minkai, who just became a reserve member, it's rare for a member to show this tendency. After Ray finished speaking, it was the masked man's turn to be silent. His right hand on the table unconsciously tapped the table over and over again, calculating countless possibilities in his mind. Ray, who stood on the side, didn't speak anymore. He just stood quietly, waiting for the director's latest instructions. After a long time, until the clock on the wall reached midnight, the masked man slowly said, "Let's do this. Follow the original plan. There's no need to pay too much attention to Ray Minkai. According to the report submitted by Her Highness, Ray Minkai's current goal is to resurrect his hometown world. This is in line with the establishment of our administration." The masked man paused and continued. "Under this premise, there will only be friendship between us and become partners against the abyss. Ray Minkai, let him choose for himself." "Yes, Director." Ray nodded in response. When he was about to turn around and leave, he remembered something. "Director, I don't know what identity should be arranged for Ray Minkai to participate in the Steel Pulla World competition? According to the original plan, our qualifying spots should be used up." "Really? Then let Ray Minkai choose for himself. In the Steel Pulla World, no matter which country's qualifying spot, as long as he likes it, we can give it to him." This is also a reward won by the fighter who wins the death match. The masked man waved his hand and made the final decision. Yes. I understand. Director. After Ray saluted the masked man, he turned around and was about to leave again. This time, it was the masked man's turn to stop Ray. Right, Ray. Go get ready. The masked man looked up at the clock, then looked back at Ray, who showed a hint of doubt, and chuckled. Go get ready. Ray, there are 8 hours left. At around 8 o'clock in the morning, we will have an old friend return from afar. According to his wishes, he should be able to become our partner. Old friend. Ray thought for a moment. As the memory buried deep in his mind gradually recovered, he finally remembered the face and name of the old friend mentioned by the masked man. He remembered that more than 10 years ago, the old friend was Ray's captain. If it weren't for the fact that the woman he loved had suffered the biggest blow in her life, and had no choice but to leave Earth and take the first faster-than-light spaceship in the history of Seed to colonize an alien planet, his old friend's position and authority would probably be much higher than Rem's. It's him. Is the captain back? Director. The masked man nodded with a smile at the corner of his mouth. He and Ray were the same. They both had a good impression of this old friend. That's great. Then I'll take my leave. Director, tomorrow the affairs I am responsible for will be temporarily transferred to my secretaries. The masked man looked at Ray, who was standing upright, and chuckled a few times. Go. Entertain this old friend for me. Oh yes. His wish seems to be to resurrect his dead wife. You have to pay attention to this. Yes, Director. Chapter 121. The sun was setting. Lingshur casually kicked the small stones on the side of the road with a carefree smile on his face. And Makoto Ito next to him was the same. Not long ago, after Ray Minkai, Tatsuya Yuki, who also withdrew from the regional tournament for no reason, suddenly found Lingshur and asked Lingshur to fight with him. Then, Lingshur and Makoto Ito, this pair of partners, happily fought with this opponent until both sides were completely destroyed. Although I don't know why Yuki-senpai withdrew, we can feel his determination from the battle. Lingshur, right? Standing on the railing, Makoto Ito looked at the calm river and said, So what? We already know Tatsuya Yuki's determination. But the other person ran away without saying a word. Lingshur curled his lips and looked a little unhappy. This. The corner of Yi Ji Cheng's mouth twitched, but he couldn't find any excuse for a certain person. Probably, Kai has other reasons? Makoto Ito hesitated a few times and finally said this sentence. Whatever. Kai, the body is destroyed. What do we do next? Lingshur rolled his eyes and changed the topic. No problem. I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. For the Ling division, I have prepared another mecha. The next finals are no problem at all. Yi Cheng clenched his fists and confidently expressed that he had already anticipated this situation and was prepared for it. Kai, you're indeed the most reliable partner. I'll leave the body to you. The two nodded in unison. After cheering each other on, they returned to Makoto Ito's home. Unexpectedly, as soon as they entered the door, they saw a man and a woman standing at the door talking with Makoto Ito's mother, Iori Rinko. Looking at them, it seemed like they were talking about a very good topic. That's Uncle Sinman and Sister Merida. Yi Cheng couldn't help but shout when he saw the appearance of the man and woman. He took a step forward and jogged over. Although Makoto Ito and Lingshur were talking, Makoto Ito constantly defended Ray Minkai's withdrawal. In his heart, he cared more about why Ray Minkai suddenly withdrew than anyone else. In fact, on the night he learned that Ray Minkai withdrew, Makoto Ito directly went to Sinman's house and tried to find out the reason why Ray Minkai suddenly withdrew from the competition from Sinman's mouth. The result was obvious. Ray Minkai's withdrawal was single-handedly arranged by Sinman. Ray Minkai ran to the death match. How could Sinman, the organizer, still stay at home? Therefore, when Sinman, who had been missing for a while, appeared, it immediately affected Makoto Ito's nerves. He desperately wanted to know more about Ray Minkai. It's Chung. You're back just in time. Let's go in. Sinman noticed Makoto Ito and Iori Rinko's presence from the moment they returned. Therefore, before Makoto Ito could speak, Sinman took the lead and asked Iori Rinko to enter the house to talk. Store manager, can we go in for a moment? I have something to talk to Chung about. Iori Rinko, on the other hand, nodded with a smile. Sure. You're welcome at any time. Also, I haven't seen Merida here for a while. I've been missing her. Come, Sinman, Merida, let's go in. Iori Rinko happily agreed and called Makoto Ito into the house to entertain the guests. Chung, what are you looking at? Come back and entertain the guests. And Ling Division, you should come in as well. I've prepared your favorite dinner today. X2. After a hearty meal, Iori Rinko and Merida went to wash the dishes, leaving one adult and 2 children to talk in the living room. Uncle Sinman, I don't know. As soon as Makoto Ito opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Sinman. Sinman looked at the time on her watch and pondered for a moment. It's about time. Chung Lingshire, the answer you want to know is on TV. Right now, DJ TV is broadcasting the live broadcast of the Celestial Kingdom Songhai Division. Live broadcast of the finals? Is it the Steel Pulla battle? Makoto Ito was stunned, but his hands did not slow down at all. As Makoto Ito pressed the power button on the remote control, the TV in the living room was turned on. The moment the screen lit up, a passionate and rhythmic music started playing. Following that, beams of light lit up one after another, dispelling the darkness and revealing the Steel Pulla battle platform that was originally shrouded in darkness. Welcome to the Steel Pulla Battle World Competition Finals of the Celestial Kingdom Division. I'm the host, Wang Hai. At this moment, a passionate man's voice sounded. Although Makoto Ito did not understand what the voice was saying, he could see the translation on the screen below. Final of the Songhai Division? Suddenly, Makoto Ito seemed to understand why Sinman wanted them to watch the live broadcast of the Celestial Kingdom Division. Sinman, could it be that you mean? Who knew that Sinman would roll her eyes, touch the back of her head, and shrug her shoulders. You'll know when you continue watching. This matter, I can't tell you directly. Why can't you tell us? It doesn't look like it's a big secret. Not only Makoto Ito, even Lingshire, who was usually too lazy to use his brain, also saw through some trick. Thus, the two who had a tacit understanding took turns to attack Sinman. However, the old fox Sinman, who was stubborn, made Makoto Ito and Lingshire, this pair of fledglings, lose helplessly. Fortunately, Sinman's strict defense did not make Makoto Ito and Lingshire feel helpless. This was because the introduction on the TV ended very quickly. Next was the introduction of the contestant. Oh right. Liu Yang, do you know the contestant called Guy? Wang Hai's opening words were like this. The Liu Yang that he mentioned was his partner. Guy. I know. As the dark horse that suddenly appeared in Songhai City, I believe that there is no one who doesn't know about the existence of this powerful Steel Pulla fighter. But then again, I believe that more people are concerned about the relationship between Guy and the mysterious girl who has long beautiful pink hair and wears a veil. Liu Yang changed the topic and attracted everyone's attention from the Steel Pulla fight to another aspect. Although it was just a piece of gossip, it was indeed something that many people were concerned about. Liu Yang, could it be that you already know about the relationship between that beautiful girl and Guy? You have to know, not only that beautiful girl wears a veil, even Guy, this dark horse, has been wearing a mask since his debut. We have no way of knowing their identity. I heard that even PPSE has no way of knowing their identity. Wang Hai took over the topic and continued to introduce the dark horse, Guy, to the audience. That's true. I didn't expect that even a powerful intelligence system like PPSE couldn't find out the origin of Guy and that mysterious girl. Presumably, Guy is aiming for the World Championship, right? Perhaps we can find out Guy's true identity the moment he successfully enters the world competition. Liu Yang, don't you think so? Yes. I also think that will be the case. After all, being mysterious also means being powerful. But then again, whether we can find out Guy's true identity in the world competition will depend on Guy's performance in the following finals. Facing the question raised by his partner, Wang Hai gently smiled. Liu Yang, you don't understand this. Think about it. Since Guy appeared in Shanghai City, all the contestants who were Guy's opponents all had nightmares, right? I believe that everyone who is paying attention to the Steel Pulla World competition also has some understanding of this. However, it doesn't matter if the audience doesn't understand. In the following time, we will show all the highlights of Guy in Shanghai City. As soon as Wang Hai's voice fell, the scene suddenly changed. Sand and dust could be seen rolling on the screen, and the sound of wind whistling could be heard from the speakers, making the audience feel as if they had arrived in a desert swept by the wind. Kacha, kacha, in the rolling sand, the sound of footsteps could be heard. Behind these sounds there was a huge black shadow. As the shadow passed through the rolling sand and dust, Makoto Ito and Lingshur both discovered that the shadow was actually a knight. One of them was clad in iron armor and held a long weapon in his hand. He was riding a divine horse that was similarly clad in iron armor. His appearance was handsome, and his eyes shone with blood-red light. This is Steel Pulla model. Seeing the Steel Knight that appeared on the screen as a Steel Pulla fanatic, Makoto Ito stood up from the sofa and looked at the Steel Knight with shining eyes. As his fanatical gaze wandered, he had already taken in all the details of the Steel Knight. He analyzed the technical aura that was revealed in it over and over again. Everyone, this is Guy's personal Gangpula battle mech, Tiger Leopard Cavalry. The moment the screen froze and the Steel Knight and its mount were perfectly presented to the audience, the host Wang Hai's voice sounded again. Does everyone feel that the name of this Steel Pulla model is very familiar? Yes. That's right. According to Guy's disclosure, the inspiration for this Steel Pulla model came from the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty's history. The famous Eastern Han Dynasty's Prime Minister Cao Cao's most elite and most frightening troops, Tiger Leopard Cavalry. Everyone, please look carefully at this Steel Pulla model named Tiger Leopard Cavalry. The style of its armor and the design of its weapons are all based on our country's Han Dynasty, and some of them are even based on the armor of the Three Kingdoms period. After Wang Hai's voice fell, his partner Liu Yang's voice immediately followed. No wonder I felt that the Tiger Leopard Cavalry's appearance was very familiar. So it was based on the armor that appeared in our country's history. Oh, that's right. Did they also add in some Ming Dynasty's Mingguang armor? Perhaps. But that's not important. What's important is that the Tiger Leopard Cavalry's battle strength can be said to be the reappearance of history. Liu Yang, do you know? All the enemies standing in front of the Tiger Leopard Cavalry were not its match. Yes, I know. However, let the audience feel it for themselves. Otherwise, if we continue to be long-winded, I'm afraid we will be criticized. Liu Yang laughed and let the backstage continue to play the video of the Tiger Leopard Cavalry. The scene changed. The sand that filled the sky quietly dissipated and the sunlight once again scattered on this desolate desert. In front of the Tiger Leopard Cavalry stood another Steel Pulla model, Rose Gouda. The Steel Pulla model that clearly had a Western European knight style unsheathed the knight's sword at its waist and pointed it at the Tiger Leopard Cavalry. It made a provocative gesture that seemed to be announcing something. However, the ferocious cavalry remained unmoved. It only lightly swung the reins, allowing the steed to advance in small steps. Then, it began to gallop. After that, it began to gallop towards Rose Gundam. While moving forward, the iron horse carrying the tiger leopard cavalry actually rolled up bursts of wind. It was like a gale and also like a storm that engulfed the earth. Hoo, 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 amidst the whistling of the wind, the tiger leopard cavalry's body slightly leaned back. The long hilt weapon in its right hand slightly shook and a dazzling light was emitted from the blade. Immediately after, the long hilt weapon that had completely displayed its proper posture was dragged on the ground and stirred up bursts of sand. Charge! This was an attack that could only be displayed by relying on the advantage of the tiger leopard cavalry's mount. Facing an extremely threatening attack, as expected, Rose Gouda put up a defensive posture and released the Rose floating cannon in an attempt to interfere with the tiger leopard cavalry's charge. However, it was completely ignored by the tiger leopard cavalry. In the blink of an eye, the tiger leopard cavalry that was charging with all its might crossed over several sand dunes and arrived in front of Rose Gouda. His hand raised and his blade fell. Schwa! Rose Gouda dead. At this moment the screen turned black. When it lit up again, it was still the tiger leopard cavalry and a new opponent. Although this opponent used the complete TR-6 Silver Thunder Gouda, in the end, he still followed in Rose Gouda's footstep. One blade. It was still one blade. The silent tiger leopard cavalry did not make any unnecessary movements. He urged the tiger leopard cavalry to charge with all its might and break through the enemy's defense. Raising his hand and slashing his blade, the enemy dead. How is this possible? The enemy is too weak. Lingshur rubbed his eyes and muttered in disbelief. However, Lingshur knew in his heart that it was not that the enemy was too weak, but that the tiger leopard cavalry was too strong. No matter what kind of attack hit the tiger leopard cavalry's body, it would strangely show signs of dissipating, allowing the tiger leopard cavalry to charge in front of the enemy without any injuries. Raising his hand and slashing his blade, he killed the enemy in one strike. How is this possible? Can the steel pulla model do this? Makoto Ito also saw some clues, but he still could not believe that there was a technique that could make the Palevsky particles dissipate. Cough cough. Cheng. The steel pulla model is free. There is only something you cannot imagine, there is nothing you cannot do. Sinman, who had been silent about this matter, suddenly reminded Makoto Ito. There is only something you cannot imagine, there is nothing you cannot do? The steel pulla model is free? While Makoto Ito was deep in thought because of Sinman's reminder, Lingshur, who was paying attention to the tiger leopard cavalry's every move, slapped his thigh. So strong. So strong. No matter what kind of enemy it is, with just a wave of his blade, he can defeat them. Is there such a strong enemy in this world? Other than that guy? Lingshur, who was completely shocked by the strength of the tiger leopard cavalry, subconsciously compared Tatsuya Yuki's astonishing Zagu to the tiger leopard cavalry, but there was no conclusion. This was because he had never fought with the tiger leopard cavalry before, so he did not know the pressure he would face when facing the tiger leopard cavalry. Suddenly the scene changed. The host's voice sounded again. All right. The exciting moment ends here. Now the finals begin. Everyone, please take a look. Our contestants have already entered the arena and are ready for battle. Yes. That's right. Everyone, please take a look at what we are waiting for. Kai and his mysterious girlfriend, Miss Pink, have also made their preparations. Tonight will determine whether or not we will be able to find out Kai's true identity before the start of the world competition. Under the light, a man and a woman, under the gaze of tens of thousands of people, stepped onto the stage and stood together at the side of the stage. The man had a silver mask on his face. The woman had a silver veil on her face. Both of them were shrouded in a mysterious aura. Kai. It really is Kai. However, this mysterious aura was only for those who were not familiar with the man and woman. For Makoto Ito, who had known Rei Minkai for a while, he immediately recognized them. Makoto Ito's cry of surprise did not affect the progress of the competition. Moreover, just like the previous opponents, no matter what they did, the Tiger Leopard Cavalry only had one response. They urged their mounts to charge, break through their defenses, and then cut them in half. Boom! The moment the enemy exploded, the audience went wild. Even the two hosts, who usually showed a steady attitude in front of the audience, were cheering excitedly. Everyone! Right now, you are watching the Steel Polo World Competition's live broadcast of the Shanghai City Competition's finals. As you can see, we may be witnessing the rise of a legend. We are witnessing the birth of a miracle that will shake the history of Steel Polo World Competition. Right now, we can no longer use any words to describe our feelings. Please follow us and shout out the name of this miracle. Kai, Kai, Kai. Tiger Leopard Cavalry. Tiger Leopard Cavalry. Tiger Leopard Cavalry. Chapter 122. Congratulations on being qualified. Sinmin raised the wine glass in her hand and congratulated Rei Minkai and Euphemia for being qualified for the World Tournament. Yes, even though this is an expected result, it is still something worth celebrating. Come, Kai. UFFI. Congratulations. Merida also raised the wine glass in her hand. Thank you very much. This is all thanks to Sinmin and Merida's help. Rei Minkai and Euphemia looked at each other and smiled. Together, they expressed their sincere thanks to Sinmin and Merida, who had traveled thousands of miles to Sanya City to meet up with Rei Minkai and Gaia, who had come here to play for the past 2 months before the World Tournament began. Ferocious Cavalry, Kai. This group that suddenly rose to fame was actually a specially arranged identity for Rei Minkai and Euphemia. From Rei, who had left and returned, they found out that they would be participating in the Steel Polo World Tournament as the qualified contestants of a certain country. However, because the current number of qualified contestants that the administration could arrange had almost all been used up, the administration could communicate with the countries that they had good relations with to get some spot. However, during this communication process, they needed Rei Minkai and the others to display their strength. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to explain it to the audience. The qualification for the World Tournament should have been given to the contestants that they valued, but for no reason, it was given to the contestants that hadn't participated in the regional tournament. Regarding this, Rei Minkai didn't have any objections. Regardless of whether it was in his previous life or the current Steel Polo world, they liked to talk about reasons and reason to convince the masses. Therefore, after some packaging, Rei Minkai and Euphemia, who had put on their masks again, appeared on the stage with the Kai and the Knight Gundam as the foundation. They used the brand new Steel Polo model, the Tiger Leopard Knight, to conquer all the spectators and the players who were fighting against them with their barbaric, unreasonable, and shocking sword technique. In 2 months, Kai, you will face the elite contestants from all over the world. At that time, your ferocious cavalry might be targeted by others. Do you have a plan? After drinking a full glass, Sinmin stroked her beard and said, "In the competition, the ferocious cavalry's battle strength made it hard for people to ignore its existence. Especially the defense that made the Palovsky particle almost useless, it was even more unforgettable for the contestants that qualified for the World Tournament. In fact, I've already assumed that the secret of the ferocious cavalry has been cracked. Therefore, I'm prepared to continue to strengthen the ferocious cavalry and even the pirate Gauda." Hearing Rei Minkai say that he already had a countermeasure, Hinman nodded slowly. "Since I've then, let's celebrate to the fullest. Come, cheers." The nights of full moon high in the night, after a round of celebration, the rarely drunk Sinman was sent back to her room by a helpless Merida and Ray Minkai. Afterwards, the slightly drunk Ray Minkai came to the beach. He raised his head to look at the full moon and was silent for a long time. Light footsteps came from behind him. Without even looking, Ray Minkai knew that Euphemia had come just by smelling the fragrance coming from the sea breeze. "Are you looking at the moon, Kai?" Yes. Ray Minkai nodded and turned around to look at the loose, white beach dress she was wearing. Under the bright moonlight, Euphemia seemed to be draped in a veil woven from the moonlight. It made the originally pure white beach dress seem even more holy. Euphemia's hands were behind her back. With light steps, she came in front of Ray Minkai and said with a smile, "Tonight's moon is beautiful, isn't it?" Ray Minkai nodded. Then, Ray Minkai suddenly thought of something. "Yes. Tonight's moon is beautiful. But, UFFI, do you know the meaning of this sentence?" For some reason, Ray Minkai suddenly wanted to tease Euphemia. Well, for the innocent Euphemia, she shouldn't know the "tonight's moon is beautiful" joke. Sure enough, the innocent Euphemia showed a puzzled expression. Meaning? Isn't it praising the beauty of tonight's moon? Looking at Euphemia's puzzled expression, Ray Minkai smiled mysteriously. He took a step forward and said softly in Euphemia's ear, "UFFI, do you know? The sentence 'tonight's moon is beautiful,' in a sense, can be considered as a more reserved confession." In an instant, Euphemia's small face turned red. Her big bright eyes also became flustered at this moment. Euphemia, whose heart was beating like a deer, almost couldn't speak properly. Even if the relationship between the two could be confirmed in the next moment, but in this sudden confession attack, even if she was the one who took the initiative to confess, Euphemia, who was deeply educated by the royal family and had to face the image of an elegant and steady royal princess, panicked. Ray Minkai didn't let Euphemia continue to panic. From the beginning, Ray Minkai only wanted to play a small prank on Euphemia. Therefore, when he saw Euphemia's blushing face and her flustered appearance, Ray Minkai revealed a trace of smile and gently hugged Euphemia in his embrace. "UFFI. Tonight's moon is beautiful. Kai." Euphemia, who was in Ray Minkai's embrace, heard Ray Minkai's powerful heartbeat, and her fluttering heart gradually calmed down. The royal princess, whose small face was still red, whispered softly, "Kai, is it true? Tonight's moon is beautiful," this sentence. And, yes. In a certain space-time, the sentence "tonight's moon is beautiful" is indeed a more reserved confession. Ray Minkai said softly while sniffing Euphemia's hair that was emitting the fragrance of shampoo. "And no. Not this, Kai." Euphemia raised her small face and looked at Ray Minkai. "What you said is true." "What is true? UFFI." Ray Minkai's mouth hung a smile as he asked back. "Kai, When Euphemia heard Ray Minkai's shameless words, she wanted to scold him, but Ray Minkai hugged her even more tightly. "UFFI. It's true. Kai." At this moment, the moonlight was so charming. The next day, when Ray Minkai just finished washing up and was about to go downstairs, he saw Sinman standing in the stairwell waiting for him. "Yo, good morning. Kai, do you have time to go out with me?" Ray Minkai looked back at Euphemia's room and nodded. So, the two men went together and went straight to the center of Sanya City. Soon after, Sinman drove the car with the two people slowly parked in the parking lot of the farmer's market. "Are you here to buy groceries?" Looking at the middle-aged and old women coming and going, Ray Minkai couldn't help but be speechless. "Haha. Kai, don't get the wrong idea. I'm not the kind of evil person who instigates the man to cheat on a young couple when they're in love. But even if you have this idea, I won't agree." Sinman opened the door and laughed beside the car. Ray Minkai awkwardly touched his nose. To be honest, when Sinman stood in the stairwell, her attitude was a bit strange. Looking back at the farmer's market with people coming and going, Ray Minkai shrugged and calmly accepted the task of becoming a cook. It looks like you'll make a good husband, Kai. Looking at Ray Minkai skillfully taking out the basket from the trunk, Sinman was very satisfied. Let's go. Sinman. Today I'm your subordinate, Captain. Lei Minkai held the basket in his hand and saluted. Then I'll leave it to you. Warrant Officer Ray Minkai. After a playful conversation, Sinman and Ray Minkai entered the farmer's market and began the shopping war. Tuna, wood ear, pineapple, beef, curry, carrots. Ray Minkai held the menu slip from Sinman in one hand and compared the vegetables in the basket by Sinman. That's all for now. Let's go back and put these vegetables in the trunk, then take a break. After another struggle, the two leaned against the side of the car and took a breath. At this time, Ray Minkai suddenly saw Sinman take out a pack of cigarettes, took one out and handed it over. No. I don't smoke. I don't smoke. Lei Minkai shook his head. Really? In fact, I don't smoke often. It's just that sometimes when I'm upset, I smoke a few. Sinman said while skillfully lighting the cigarette. Lei Minkai, on the other hand, keenly caught the meaning behind Sinman's words. Sinman, what's bothering you? Probably. Kai, do you like curry? After slowly exhaling a mouthful of smoke, Sinman looked at Ray Minkai and asked, Curry? It's okay. Ray Minkai was a little surprised. He couldn't associate curry with Sinman's troubles at all. Really? That's true. Not everyone likes curry, a special kind of food. Some people even think it's like sh*t. But, Sinman picked up the cigarette, slowly took a breath, and slowly said, But Merida likes it. No, maybe she likes to eat my curry. Hearing this, even if Ray Minkai was slow, he understood why Sinman suddenly showed this attitude. Could it be that his troubles were related to Merida? Since I adopted Merida and the others, I have been taking care of them. Every day, I racked my brain to prepare delicious food for them and Merida. Although in the beginning, my cooking was terrible, Merida and the others didn't dislike it at all. Instead, they all ate it. Perhaps that time was the happiest memory after I left John's remnant. When Sinman raised her hand again, she found that the cigarette in her hand was gone. Next to her was Ray Minkai's cigarette, which came from the cigarette box he put on the side. Sinman smiled and let Ray Minkai light the cigarette. After taking a puff, she continued, Those days changed when Merida and the others became adults. Determined to return to the universe, they once again joined the fleet as MS pilots without hesitation and began a space expedition that lasted several years. Speaking of this, Ray Minkai seemed to notice that Sinman's right hand holding the cigarette was trembling, as if she was having a battle in her heart. And then? Ray Minkai glanced at Sinman's trembling right hand and asked. Then, I waited in this world for several years. In these years, I didn't see Merida and the others come back, and I didn't get any information about the universe they were in. Even if Merida and the others contacted me on the agreed date, they wouldn't mention the war situation. Sinman took a deep breath and sighed. It wasn't until a year ago, after Merida had an accident, that I realized that what I was worried about was far less cruel than the reality. Merida was injured in a planetary battle, and was almost assimilated by the abyss. If it weren't for Pulu and Pulu's desperately saving Merida, who was injured and unconscious, you wouldn't have seen Merida. And I would have lost Merida, and I wouldn't have cooked a pot of curry for Merida again. As Lei Minkai watched Schneeman's eyes gradually turn red and moist as he spoke, Lei Minkai came to a sudden realization. Unexpectedly, in addition to that fateful encounter, Sinman and Merida also experienced a separation of life and death similar to the original work. However, the original Sinman and Merida were separated by life and death. Here, Sinman and Merida became a happy father and daughter. But, Sinman, now is Merida healed? Sinman threw the cigarette butt in her hand on the ground, took a deep breath, and calmed her somewhat chaotic breath. Yes. The medical center in Star City has issued a notice of recovery. Merida, who is determined to return to the universe, can't wait. Are you hesitating? Sinman. Ray Minkai saw it. Although Sinman has now settled in this Gampula world for a long time, his heart may still be on that battlefield. No. It should be said that Sinman's heart was worried about Merida and the others who galloped on the battlefield. Right now, Sinman may be confused. Sinman, are you worried about Merida, worried that something will happen to Pulu and the others? No. As a warrior who risked life and death on the battlefield, dying on the battlefield is inevitable. At this moment, Sinman showed his almost cold calmness. But in the next moment, Sinman covered his heart and said in pain, "But as a father, I don't want to greet Merida and the others alone at home when they die on the battlefield." The appearance of Sinman in front of him made Ray Minkai absent-minded for a moment. It was as if the Sinman standing in front of him was the same Sinman in the UC-0096 unicorn, the one who shouted those words to Merida, who was sitting in the cockpit of the Banshee, that made countless people cry. Is it Merida sitting inside? If so, then come down quickly. Don't leave me alone. Thinking of the tear-jerking plot, Ray Minkai's eyes were a little red. But he tried to raise his hand and pat Sinman on the shoulder. Captain, don't hesitate. Maybe you already have a way to gallop on the battlefield with Merida and the others, right? All I can do is cheer you up and give you advice. Don't follow in the footsteps of Speloy Sinman's tragedy. Now you may have the power to transcend fate. Captain. Isn't that right? Speloy Sinman. As soon as she heard the name, Sinman remembered the animation about unicorns when she came to this world, and the fate she should have followed. There, Merida died in battle. The Sinman lost her daughter again. But now she had surpassed the Sinman. Not only did she adopt Merida, but she also adopted Merida's other 11 sisters and let them live with her for more than 10 years as her adopted daughters. This trajectory of fate had indeed surpassed the original fate. Then, what she had to do now was to continue to protect Merida, protect them, the most precious treasure owned by Speloy Sinman in this world. Thank you, Kai. Maybe I have figured it out. The confusion in Sinman's eyes gradually faded and was replaced by unwavering faith. This is the Captain Sinman I know. Ray Minkai smiled and nodded. Haha. It's just that I can't accompany you to the end, Kai. Guy. Shinman patted Guy's shoulder and laughed out loud. It's okay, Sinman. You've already helped me enough. I should walk the next road by myself. No matter how talented a fledgling is, he still has to face the unpredictable sky alone, otherwise, how can he become an eagle soaring in the sky? Ray Minkai was not surprised by Sinman's departure. On the contrary, he felt that this was an opportunity for him to grow. Good, good, good. Kai, I'll be waiting for you in the universe. Sinman called out loudly 3 times and then changed the topic of conversation. But now we still have to prepare the ingredients for dinner. Well, let's go. A few hours later, Ray Minkai and Sinman, who had bought a lot, began a new round of battle in the kitchen, talking and laughing while Merida and Euphemia looked at them with puzzled eyes. What day is it today? Merida blinked and looked at the delicious food on the table with a puzzled face. This is to celebrate your recovery, Merida, Sinman said, which made Merida freeze in place. Euphemia, who was standing on the side, also quietly pulled Ray Minkai, her eyes full of doubts. This was to be expected. In daily life, Merida did not show any discomfort, but instead made people feel a sense of vitality. This was also the reason why Euphemia was puzzled. Ray Minkai smiled and raised his hand to pull Euphemia out of the dining room temporarily, leaving the father and daughter space. Although Ray Minkai did not know how Sinman and Merida reached a consensus, when the two stood in front of Ray Minkai and Euphemia in the same silver-black military uniform a week later, they knew that the father and daughter were ready to go to war together. Kai Uffi, come with us. One day you will also conquer the various planes of the universe like us. With such words, Ray Minkai and Euphemia followed behind Sinman and her father and once again came to the City of Star Glory, to the military port where they first obtained permission to enter. Archangel? Macross? Mobile battleship Fuzi? It was one thing to know, but it was another to see it with one's own eyes. When Ray Minkai saw the classic battleships that appeared in various classic works with his own eyes, he almost couldn't control himself and wanted to take a closer look. Fortunately, Euphemia, who was standing next to him, grabbed him and pulled Ray Minkai back to his senses. Ahem. Sorry for being rude. In the face of Ray Minkai's actions, Sinman and Merida just smiled understandingly and did not care much. However, in the next moment, it was Sinman's turn to lose her composure. Under the guidance of the conveyor belt, everyone came to the entrance of the berth named number 8. As soon as they arrived here, Sinman was stunned. Seeing this, Ray Minkai and Euphemia looked at Merida. But Merida shook her head and stopped talking. She just looked at the entrance. Ray Minkai followed Merida's gaze and saw a big figure and a small figure standing at the entrance. The big one was Lei, who had not been seen for many days. And the small one was a girl whose face was somewhat similar to Sinman. Mary. At this moment, Sinman's trembling voice almost sounded uncontrollably. Chapter 123. Sinman. Welcome back to the fleet as a fleet commander. This is Spaloya Marie. I believe you will not be unfamiliar with her, Sinman. Rem, who was standing next to the little girl, smiled and introduced the little girl to Sinman. Then, he left the space for Sinman and the little girl named Marie. He went to Ray Minkai, Euphemia, and Merida alone. Are the three of you interested in having a chat with me? Merida shook her head and rejected Rem's proposal. No. Go ahead. I'll stay here. Merida meant that she was going to guard the door for Sinman and Marie. In response, Ray just smiled. Merida, aren't you afraid that Sinman will find out about your actions when she comes back to her senses? Does it matter? This is a decision we made together. We won't regret it, and we won't be afraid of Dad finding out. Merida's words were full of determination and no regrets. Is that so? Then, I wish you good luck. Ray turned around and glanced at Sinman, who was completely focused on Mary and hadn't heard the conversation. Ray said softly, Mary's assimilation is going well. She is ready to set sail. Perhaps you and the rest of you should be prepared. I understand. Merida nodded and pushed Rem, Ray Minkai, and Euphemia out of the berth. She stood guard at the door alone, creating an independent space for Sinman and Marie to meet again. After the three people who were chased away by Merida walked some distance away, they came to a watchtower that was wrapped in a wide isolation glass. Lei Kai rubbed his nose helplessly and laughed embarrassedly. Looks like I'm hated. Remington, was that really Marie? Ray Minkai asked. Ray Minkai remembered that Sinman's daughter, Mary, was already dead. Whether it was in the original novel or now, Sinman acknowledged this point. Well, in a sense, Mary is still alive. Ray nodded and gave an ambiguous answer. Still alive? Living dead? Euphemia was even more confused. Although she wasn't as familiar with the plot as Ray Minkai, she knew the difference between life and death. Ray shook his head, turned around, and raised his hand. He pointed at the Macross not far away and asked a question. If these huge space battleships have self-awareness, and they even have another appearance that is similar to that of humans, what kind of existence do you think they are? Ship girl. There was no need to think or hesitate. The moment Ray Minkai finished speaking, the name that came out of his mouth was unconsciously spoken by Ray Minkai. Then, Ray Minkai finally reacted. For all. When Lei Minkai saw Euphemia's puzzled look, he hurriedly laughed dryly. I just had a moment of inspiration. Is that so? For some reason, Euphemia's intuition was very sharp at this moment. She was so sharp that she almost noticed the secret that Ray Minkai was trying to hide. Ahem. It is indeed as Ray Minkai said. These existences that have both the appearance of space battleships and humans can indeed be called shipgirls. This name has already spread in the City of Stars and the administration. It is not strange that Ray Minkai knows about it. She didn't expect Ray to save Ray Minkai at the critical moment. That's it. I also heard about it from others. Is that so? Looking at Ray Minkai, the confusion on Euphemia's face remained. Experiment number CL03001, code name Mary. This code name is Mary's identification ID in the administration. Experiment number? Mary is already a ship girl? Ray Minkai immediately caught the key point. How can it be? A human turned into a battleship? Euphemia exclaimed. No. Mary is not a human to begin with. Her discovery was because when Merida and the other Pulu participated in the planetary battle, they were sucked into a space-time singularity. When they came out again, the seriously injured Merida had a piece of information fragment on her body. It is Mary. Ray used a flat voice to describe a fact that made Ray Minkai and Euphemia feel a little shocked. Maybe you still don't know what an information fragment is. But what you can understand is that an information fragment is a soul fragment to some extent. Therefore, in order to activate this information fragment, and in order to not let Merida's injury go to waste, we decided to launch the third type artificial intelligence life battleship experiment, which is the Shipgirl experiment. In other words, the current Mary is a composite life between a human and an electronic data system. Ray Minkai tried to recall the memories he knew about shipgirls from his previous life. Yes and no. We will make them into elves. An elf with infinite possibilities. Ray smiled and continued. Mary's success gave us a glimmer of hope. Here, in addition to the efforts of our technical staff, we have to thank you. Ray Minkai. Me? Not only Ray Minkai, but even Euphemia, who had not been separated from him, was puzzled. How could Ray Minkai, who had been playing with glue in the Steel Pula world, affect Starlight City, and even the actions of the administration's Research and Development Department? This is also thanks to the conversation between you and Sinman, Ray Minkai, which made Sinman make up her mind, so we can finally proceed to the last step of the experiment. While Mary is completely adapting to her new body, she will try to evolve to a higher level through the stimulation of her relationship with Sinman. Although the smile on Ray's face was still friendly, Ray Minkai could not help but feel that he had been schemed against. Of course, this is just our vision for Mary's future. For now, let's let Sinman and Mary have a good reunion. Finally, in my personal capacity, I congratulate Ray Minkai and Miss Euphemia for successfully qualifying for the world competition. The topic changed, and Ray began to congratulate Ray Minkai and Euphemia. And before Ray Minkai and Euphemia could speak, he took the lead and said, "It should be about time now. Ray Minkai, Miss Euphemia. Maybe we should go back and send Sinman and the others off." Ray Minkai and Euphemia looked at each other and nodded. They both saw it. The blond man in front of them did not seem to want to continue on this topic. The words "just now," perhaps it was because Ray Minkai had influenced Sinman's decision to a certain extent, and thus was told the secret. Ray. Maybe I'm thinking too much. I've seen a little girl that looks like the image you described before. I wonder if she is also a part of these existences? Ray Minkai made a gesture and pointed at the Macross that was slowly flying into the depths of the void, and raised his question. Nana? Are you talking about the second princess? Haha. Her existence is not something that the agency can influence. Also, if you want to talk about the relationship, then we can start with the Type 3 artificial intelligence life form. The appearance of the Type 3 is not a coincidence. Before it, there was the original Type 2 and the original Type 2. Original Type 2? Type 2? Euphemia frowned as she pondered over the crux of the matter. Is there some kind of connection between them? Ray nodded. Yes. The original Type 2 and the original Type 2 are biologically related. The Type 3 has no blood relationship, but the agency used part of the technology from the original Type 2 and the original Type 2 to develop it. Ray Minkai heard this and rubbed his chin while thinking. In that case, the Type 3 is only technically related to the original Type 2 and the original Type 2 you mentioned. Other than that, the Type 3 can be seen as a new life form created by the agency? You can understand it that way. Ray smiled, raised his hand to look at the time, and repeated again. It's about time. We should go back. 10 minutes later, Ray Minkai and the others returned to the berth and saw Merida standing at the door from afar. However, compared to before, Merida's face was much gentler now. It seemed that the situation inside should be good. Merida, it seems that your efforts were not in vain. Ray looked inside and smiled at Merida. Our efforts were not in vain. Papa approved of us. Merida's face began to show signs of a smile. Ray, thank you very much. At this time, Sinman's figure walked up from the 8th berth, and his right hand was holding the little girl named Mary. Just from the appearance of the cute girl with a pair of big eyes, it was impossible to connect her with the huge space battleship docked inside. No. Ray shook his head gently. Sinman, as the new commander of the fleet, your flagship must be the best flagship that the agency can provide. And Mary, her existence is the best existence. Therefore, Mary and you are reunited. If you really want to thank Sinman, you should thank Merida and the other Pulu. It was because of their sacrifice that we were able to reunite this time. Sinman was silent for a moment, turned his head, looked at Merida, and slowly nodded. Merida, thank you. Although this is just a word of thanks, I still have to say it. I didn't expect that Merida's serious injury would be because of Mary. Before Sinman could say half of it, Merida hugged her. Don't say that, Dad. We are very grateful to you for taking care of us all these years. So, when we found that we could make up for your regret, we 12 sisters made the same choice. Merida chuckled, her eyes filled with the radiance of no regrets. Right? Sister Mary. According to the timeline, Mary may be older than the Pulu including Merida. So, even if Mary's appearance was still a little girl, Merida still called her sister. But Mary shook her head. No, Sister Merida. To Mary, you are my sisters. It is because of you that I can reunite with Dad in this strange world. Ahem. Okay. Merida, let's do as Mary said. Sinman coughed, and after deciding the address between Merida and Mary, she looked at Ray Minkai, and Euphemia. Sorry to keep you waiting. Ray shook his head slightly. Ray Minkai and Euphemia smiled together. No. Sinman, Merida, congratulations. Thank you. Maybe this is fate. The smile on Sinman's face never faded. But now is not the time to talk about this. Sinman looked serious, straightened her back, and gave a military salute to Ray. Spaloya Sinman is now enlisted for military service. Merida on the side did the same. Merida, Cruz has recovered from her injury and applies to return to the team. Ray looked serious and returned the salute. Now, as the acting director, I approve the return of Spaloya Sinman and Merida, Cruz on behalf of the director of the administration. Welcome. After the salute, Ray said, now time is tight. The administration and the Qin army are working on a plan, so I hope the two of you can return to your posts as soon as possible. Understood. Sinman, who began to act as a commander, and Merida looked at each other. After Merida took Mary through the door behind her, she stepped forward and patted Ray Minkai on the shoulder. Minkai, I can only accompany you until here. We can only rely on you and Euphemia for the rest of the journey. I will. Ray Minkai nodded, raised his right hand and tapped his heart and said firmly, Knight, fearless of any difficulties. That's the spirit. Sinman nodded with satisfaction, looked sideways at Euphemia, and said mockingly, "Princess Euphemia, I hope that when we meet again in this universe, I can drink your wedding wine." In an instant, Euphemia's little face turned red, and Ray Minkai's eyes drifted away. "Ha ha 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 ha. Then, goodbye." Sinman's figure quickly disappeared behind the slowly closing gate of berth number 8. Then, the restraining arms that secured the Macross in the port opened one by one, freeing the Macross's freedom. "Dad, do you know the name of this spaceship?" Standing next to the captain's seat, little Mary looked up at her father, who she had not seen for a long time. "I don't know. Mary, can you tell Dad?" Sinman smiled softly and patted Mary's head lovingly. Although she is a part of Mary, I like to call her Maggie. This is my clone, and also my original body." Mary proudly raised her little head and said in a clear voice, "Is that so? Then, Mary, when can we set off? You should know that we don't have much time." Merida bent down and picked Mary up from the ground. We can set off at any time. But did Dad forget something?" Mary blinked her big eyes, which were full of slyness. "What did I forget?" Sinman chuckled, then suddenly raised her hand and pointed forward with a serious expression. "Macross Maggie, this is your first voyage. I order as the fleet commander. Macross Maggie. Great Constellation Order. Macross Maggie. Order confirmed. Great Constellation Order." Amidst the sparkling engine of the Macross Maggie, the engine of the standing on the observation deck, Ray Minkai and the others watched the departing Macross. Sinman and Merida, who had returned to the fleet, once again set off on their journey with the joy of reunion. Chapter 124. Only Ray Minkai and Euphemia were left in the huge villa. Due to the special situation of Sinman and Merida, Ray arranged for a new guide to assist Ray Minkai and Euphemia. However, due to the active performance of Ray Minkai and Euphemia, the nature of the guide became less important. At most, he would act as a supervisor. Ray commented when he sent Ray Minkai and Euphemia back to the Steel Pulla world. Regarding this, Ray Minkai didn't mind. After all, he was only one step away from completing the mission. As long as he defeated Izashi Castle and Lingshire in the world competition, the mission would be completed. Look. While Ray Minkai and Euphemia were strolling around, Euphemia suddenly pointed at an advertisement not far away. Ray Minkai looked over and found that it was an advertisement for a women-only Steel Pulla competition held in honor of the Steel Pulla World competition. Women's Steel Pulla? Euphemia, do you want to participate? Hearing Ray Minkai's question, Euphemia nodded with expectation in her eyes. I want to stand in the control seat and pilot the Steel Pulla to participate in the competition. Even if it's just a small competition. Ray Minkai smiled and nodded. No problem. But UFFI, which body do you want to use in the competition? Pirate? Or ferocious cavalry? Euphemia pouted and shook her head. How is that possible? Wouldn't that be telling others that ferocious cavalry and Kai are here? Also, I don't want to use Pirate Gauda's words. After all, Pirate Gauda still has a trump card. Isn't that so? Looking at Euphemia's cute appearance as she played with her fingers, Ray Minkai found it funny. Regardless of whether it was the Pirate Gauda or the ferocious cavalry, if Euphemia wanted them, Ray Minkai would gladly hand them over. However, Ray Minkai still asked, so, UFFI, which body do you want to use? If you don't want to use the pirates and ferocious cavalry, you'll have to buy a new Steel Pulla model to make. Euphemia shook her head, her eyes revealing a trace of craftiness. No. Don't we have another Steel Pulla? Is that so? I remember that the Steel Pulla models I bought have already been modified into spare parts. Ray Minkai wondered which of the Steel Pulla models he had bought could still be used separately. No. Euphemia shook her head and smiled mysteriously. Kai, do you remember the last time we participated in the steel pulla model dance competition? Dance competition? Ray Minkai thought for a moment and immediately recalled that memory. Tyrant Bear? UFFI, you want to use the Tyrant Bear to participate in the competition? Yes. Euphemia's small face flashed with pride. In fact, during this time, I secretly made the Tyrant Bear. Although it's still lacking compared to your steel pulla, I'm very confident in the Tyrant Bear. Is that so? Then, let's hurry up and sign up. Then, let me see your masterpiece, UFFI. Okay. After making up their minds, the two of them dispelled the idea of strolling around. Instead, they quickly signed up for the women's steel pulla competition and returned to their residence. Look, this is the Tyrant Bear I made, the Bear of Britannia. As Euphemia's small hand opened, a Tyrant Bear painted in pink, with a huge crown inlaid with 5 rubies, holding a scepter inlaid with sapphires at the top, and wearing a big red cloak appeared in front of Ray Minkai. In an instant, Ray Minkai's eyebrows jumped wildly. Isn't this the image of the King of Tyrant Bear? Euphemia actually made the King of Tyrant Bear without him noticing? This is too amazing. How is it, my Bear of Britannia? Euphemia looked at Ray Minkai with expectant eyes. Well, it's very good. But UFFI, why did you take the name Bear of Britannia instead of Britannia? Ray Minkai praised the roar and asked the question in his heart. Ray Minkai already knew Euphemia's intention. If the Tyrant Bear was named Britannia, Ray Minkai wouldn't be surprised, but he took the name Bear of Britannia. Euphemia's big eyes flickered. The Tyrant Bear is so cute, why take the name Britannia? Just because of this? Ray Minkai was stunned for a moment and didn't seem to be able to turn the corner. Yes. Isn't the name Britannia more suitable for the Tyrant Bear than Britannia? Euphemia said with her head slightly tilted. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, Ray Minkai let out a burst of laughter. How, Kai? Is the name I chose not good? Euphemia was surprised and asked with some lack of confidence. No. It's just that I thought too much. UFFI, your Tyrant Bear, Britannia is great. Ray Minkai's laughter faded and he sincerely praised Euphemia's Tyrant Bear. Is that so? Then, Kai, do you think the Bear of Britannia can win? Euphemia's interest suddenly soared, and her eyes burned with an unprecedented fighting spirit. Well, the body is ready. But UFFI, your skills need to be trained. Ray Minkai looked around at the Tyrant Bear and led the topic to Euphemia. Me? Well, yes. Although UFFI's performance in the steel pulla dance competition was okay, but in fact, you can't meet the minimum requirements of steel pulla. So, UFFI, you must have a special training. Of course. The coach is naturally me. How about it? Her Royal Highness the Third Princess of the Britannia Empire. Looking at Lei Minkai, who had taken the initiative to be her coach, Euphemia did not feel disgusted at all. Instead, she smiled sweetly, twirled the corner of her skirt, and bowed to Lei Minkai in a ladylike manner. Then, I'll have to trouble the famous Kai. Everything, leave it to me. So, in the week before the start of the women's steel pulla competition, Ray Minkai and Euphemia did not step out of the mansion and devoted themselves to the steel pulla competition day and night. Of course, under the influence of this frequent steel pulla competition, Euphemia's steel pulla competition technique has also multiplied. Until the end of the special training, Ray Minkai has dared to assert that even if Euphemia can't enter the world competition, it is enough to get a good ranking in the women's steel pulla competition. It seems that we have been cooped up at home for more than a week. Ray Minkai, who stretched, came out of the room where the steel pulla competition platform was placed, and said while opening and looking at the empty refrigerator. Well, it seems so. I really didn't realize it. Steel pulla competition is really addictive. Euphemia, who has never been so addicted to something, held the Britannia bear in both hands and sighed. Yes, after there is no danger to life, everyone can abandon the scruples of life and death and go all out into the battle. This may be the reason why the authority listed this steel pulla world as a logistics world. Lei Mingkai looked around, and finally gave up on the idea of cooking for himself. He decided to go out for a meal. At the same time, it could be considered as a reward for staying at home and fighting day and night for a week, as well as Euphemia. UFFI, let's go out and eat. And before that, UFFI, you'd better go and freshen up. Wait a minute. I'll be right back. Under Rei Minkai's reminder, Euphemia finally realized her image and screamed, turned around and ran back to her room to freshen up. Time went by again. At the end of the special training, the two finally ushered in the day of the women's steel pulla competition. Although this was only a small competition, Euphemia paid enough attention to it. After all, this was the first time that Euphemia left the protection of Rei Mingkai and faced an opponent alone. There seems to be a lot of people. As soon as Rei Mingkai and Euphemia arrived at the venue of the women's steel pulla competition, they saw the crowd at the door. Of course, Rei Mingkai believed that some of these spectators were probably the support groups brought by other female players. Nervous? UFFI. Rei Mingkai withdrew his gaze from the crowd and looked at Her Royal Highness standing beside him. No, I'm not nervous. Instead, I feel a little excited. Euphemia shook her head and said with a face full of joy. Then, let me see your heroism on the battlefield. Rei Mingkai, who let Euphemia get on the steel pulla competition platform, looked at the surrounding girls who were also competitors. Except for the girl with glasses, who looked quiet, and the other girl with elegant temperament and a hint of pride who stared at her from time to time, Rei Mingkai didn't care too much about the other players. Rei Mingkai naturally knew Euphemia's level. He didn't think that in this small competition there would be any hidden dragon-level players. If there were, they would just be characters in the story. For example, the quiet girl with glasses and the young lady who always targeted her. Looking at the time, Chenghe and Lingshi should be here soon. Rei Mingkai's memory of this women's steel pulla competition was very clear. Because this was the moment when Makoto Ito's class leader and his CP participated in the steel pulla competition for the first time. Makoto Ito wouldn't miss it, if Rei Mingkai's memory served him right. Wow! Suddenly, there was a burst of noise in the crowd. Rei Mingkai looked and found that Euphemia's Britannia's bear stepped on the opponent's red wildebeest on the ground. The scepter inlaid with rubies was also ruthlessly pierced through the red wildebeest's armor, and in a flash of lightning, most of the red wildebeest's combat power was abolished. The battle is over. Euphemia, who won the first victory, returned to Rei Mingkai's side with the Britannia's bear with a smile. Kai, I won the first game. Well done. While the two were talking, the second game began. One of them was the quiet girl with glasses, Kanna Takasaka, Makoto Ito's class leader. Kai, she's also using Kuma. Euphemia's eyes lit up when she saw Kanna Takasaka's body. She didn't expect that in addition to her, there were other people who used Kuma as their own body. Well, that's Kuma 3. But she did a good job. Rei Mingkai slightly corrected the name, then looked at the road outside the shop. Sure enough, shortly after Kanna Takasaka's battle began, Makoto Ito and Lingshi's figures appeared behind the crowd. As soon as they squeezed into the crowd, in addition to seeing Kanna Takasaka in the battle, they also saw Rei Mingkai and Euphemia standing on the side. You guy, where the hell did you go? You made me look for you. As soon as he saw Rei Mingkai, Lingshi, who was usually unhappy with Rei Mingkai, immediately took a few steps forward, wanting to exchange a few moves with Rei Mingkai. However, Lingshi was stopped by Makoto Ito. Lingshi, today is the class leaders' battle. We'll talk about it later. Tisk, wait and see. Ray Minkai shrugged his shoulders indifferently. Kai. It looks like they're not going to let you go. Euphemia, who knew the grudge between Ray Minkai and Lingshire, couldn't help but tease Ray Minkai. Really? That's good. Otherwise, I'll be very bored in the World Tournament, Ray Minkai said. His eyes penetrated the light of Palovsky particles and fell on the figure on the other side, who was leaning against the wall. Nils Nielsen. Sure enough, it appeared. The plot of this world was not affected by his own activity, nor was it deviated by those unscrupulous reserve team members. This may be good news. The battle is over. While Ray Minkai was thinking, Takasaka Kina's battle was over. In the next match, the arrogant eldest young miss also won easily. Euphemia, it was her turn to play again. I'm going. UFFI. Pay attention to the use of the crown. The enemy may have some tricks up his sleeve. Ray Minkai looked at the steel pulla model made by Zeta Gao Da's opponent and couldn't help but remind her. Understood, coach. As soon as the battle began, the opponent's red-painted Zeta immediately accelerated to the Bear of Britannia. In the battle just now, Zeta Gao Da's pilots witnessed how the Bear of Britannia exhausted the red wildebeest with incredible long-range firepower. Therefore, for the sake of insurance and victory, Zeta Gauda did not dare to leave space and time to the Bear of Britannia, allowing it to wantonly display its long-range firepower advantage. This abacus could be described as ideal, but the reality was cruel. The crown worn by the Bear of Britannia was not a decoration. Euphemia, who knew little about the history of the steel pulla model, could only make steel pulla models according to her own ideas. Therefore, the crown worn by the Bear of Britannia was a terrible beam cannon. Got it! The Bear of Britannia was in front of him, and Zeta Gao Da's hand gesture changed, and the beam gun's muzzle spewed out a deadly light. It was a beam sword. As long as the Bear of Britannia was firmly cut, then victory would be its. At this critical moment, the Bear of Britannia's crown burst out a bright light. Hum! A burst of particles flashed. Boom! Zeta Gauda was destroyed. The battle is over. Winner Euphemia. Chapter 125. Isahi-san. Someone also uses Kumaran as their body like me. After defeating Yajima Caroline, who regarded her as an enemy, with a cotton ball attack, Kanna returned to Izashi and Ling Si's side while holding Tyrant Bear, who lost his left arm and was stabbed through his body. She couldn't help but look at Euphemia, who was standing next to Lei Minkai, and said softly, "Ah, actually, I know them, right, Lingshire?" As soon as Makoto Ito saw that Takasaka seemed to be interested in Euphemia's Kumaran, he immediately pulled Lingshire and said that they all knew Ray Minkai and Euphemia. Really? It was rare to see a female steel pulla fighter using Kumaran, so Takasaka was also interested. Hey! Who knows that self-righteous bastard? Lingshire snorted coldly, but still followed Makoto Ito and Takasaka to Ray Minkai and Euphemia. Long time no see, Kai. Long time no see. Seiji and Lingshire. Ray Minkai finally couldn't hold back and nodded slightly to the three people in front of him. He greeted them one by one, and finally, his eyes fell on Takasaka. Seiji, it seems that you have grown a lot during this time. Whether it's steel pulla or something else, I believe your mother will be very happy. His words were clear. Although Ray Minkai didn't say what he meant, the simple Makoto Ito and Takasaka already understood Ray Minkai's meaning. Suddenly, the two's faces turned red, and they didn't know what to do. Hey, Seiji, Takasaka, what are you shy about? If you lose your footing so easily, you'll fall into this guy's trap. Lingshire, who looked straightforward and somewhat reckless, actually saw through Ray Minkai's intentions. In this regard, Ray Minkai shrugged his shoulders and didn't explain much. After all, it was probably not the first time that the young couple was teased by others like this. No, it's not like that. We just were in a daze for a while. Makoto Ito and Takasaka, who reacted, looked flustered and rushed to explain. Calm down. Calm down. Kai doesn't have any malicious intentions. He just said that because he thinks that you two are a good match. At this time, Euphemia spoke. Under Euphemia's gentle voice comforting, the two people whose faces were red gradually calmed down. You are Makoto Ito and you are Lingshur, right? Kai often mentions the two of you to me. He said that you two will definitely be able to enter the world competition, and he looks forward to fighting with all his strength in the world competition. Is it? It's really embarrassing. We actually don't have much confidence in the world competition's qualification, right? Lingshur, however, didn't agree with Makoto Ito's modesty. He raised his hand and patted Makoto Ito's shoulder, stared at Rei Minkai and said, Ching, if you continue to be so modest, you will be looked down upon by this guy. Look at his eyes, they are clearly the eyes of a formidable opponent. In this kind of situation, Ching, do you still have the nerve to be modest? Shouldn't we respond accordingly? Ching, right? Makoto Ito stared blankly, then raised his hand and looked at Rei Minkai. Sure enough, just as Lingshur said, Rei Minkai's eyes were clear, so clear that Makoto Ito could see his own reflection in them, as well as the battle intent hidden in the depths. Rei Minkai really regarded him as an enemy. For some reason, Makoto Ito felt a little down in his heart, but it was quickly occupied by excitement. Once upon a time, he couldn't participate in the steel pulla competition because of his mediocre steel pulla fighting skills. Even now, he was able to enter the regional finals because of Lingshur's help. In this kind of situation, there were still people who ignored Lingshur's existence and only regarded him as an opponent who had to go all out. How could such a discovery not make Makoto Ito excited? Kai, is what Lingshur said true? When you and Uncle Shinman delivered the letter to me, what you said was not an excuse, right? No. Sincerity. I meant what I said from the beginning to the end. Let's go. Makoto Ito and Lingshur, I'll be waiting for you on the stage of the world competition. Rei Minkai gave the answer that Makoto Ito expected. However, just when Makoto Ito was about to ask Rei Minkai if he was the amazing Kai, the bell for the next match of the women's steel pulla competition rang. It was Euphemia's turn to go on stage. You're Kanna Takasaka, right? I'm Euphemia Britannia. I hope I can play against you in the finals. Before going on stage, Euphemia came to Kanna Takasaka and kindly shook hands with her. After nodding in a daze, Kanna Takasaka looked at Euphemia's back with some longing. What a beautiful big sister. Can I be like her? Rei Minkai, who was standing on the side, shook his head secretly. Euphemia's fangirl might have one more fangirl. After all, the first fangirl was still in the world of Lucio. After learning the news of Euphemia's disappearance, what would happen to the fangirl who created the Goddess of Harvest in the original work and used it to raise the blade of revenge against Zero? Suddenly, Rei Minkai seemed to be looking forward to it. Please set up the GP base. Palovsky particles begin to spread. Field number 3, Forest. At the moment when the virtual cockpit evolved by Palovsky particles wrapped Euphemia in it, Euphemia's Kuma and Britannia's bear rushed into the battlefield that had been set up, a forest with countless cherry blossom petals. What a beautiful scenery! But it's a waste to just use it for battle. Before going to the 11th district, Euphemia had collected all kinds of information about the 11th district through the maids. Among them, she collected a lot of information about cherry blossoms. It was a pity that he couldn't see it with his own eyes in the original Leluxia world, but he didn't expect to experience the grand scene of cherry blossoms in this Steelpula world with an almost realistic simulation. Da. Amidst this beautiful sea of flowers, a discordant noise appeared. Moreover, the bright and blazing flames mercilessly tore apart the petals in the sky in order to defeat the bear of Britannia behind the petals in the sky. Fall, fall. You're just a player's steel pulla model. How can you defeat my heavy soldier Gauda? Shoot it down. In the roar of the artillery shells, a woman's voice with a clear taste of wildness sounded. Heavy soldier Gauda? After the firepower enhancement transformation. Not good. As an audience, Makoto Ito saw the murderer tearing the petals flying in the sky from the side. It was heavy soldier Gauda with a 6-barreled Gatling cannon installed on both sides of his waist. Kai. I'm afraid that, if this continues, Miss Euphemia's steel pulla model will. Facing Makoto Ito's concern, Ray Minkai shook his head. No. Cheng. UFFI's steel pulla is not as simple as it looks on the surface. And have you forgotten Takasaka's Tyrant Bear? The battle with SD Knight Gauda just now can be said to be ingenious and amazing. The class leader's Tyrant Bear? Makoto Ito pondered for a moment and clapped his hands. Right. If the class leader can stuff cotton into the steel pulla model, Miss Euphemia can naturally do the same. That's right. Ray Minkai nodded and said no more. He continued to focus on Euphemia's steel pulla battle. Dong dong dong. Heavy soldier Gauda's almost insane artillery barrage was not over yet. 2 grenade launchers with 3 burst fire were unfolded on both sides of his feet. In a burst of rumbling sounds, they whistled toward the Britannia's bear. Boom! 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 In an instant, the beautiful sea of flowers that filled the sky turned into nothingness. All that was left was the swallowed forest, leaving behind potholes and rolling smoke. Ha 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 ha! The Britannia's bear? It's just a toy for a little girl to play house. How can it be compared with my heavy soldier Gauda? With such destructive firepower, heavy soldier Gauda should be the real protagonist of the steel pulla battle. Listening to this arrogant female voice that was clearly a little chunibu, Ray Minkai could only helplessly shake his head. Did this girl receive some kind of stimulation? Why does it sound a little like the feeling of a lost girl? Kai, look over there. Makoto Ito quietly pointed to the other side. Ray Minkai looked and discovered that in the opposite crowd of spectators, there was a group of people wearing leather clothes, with all kinds of strange hairstyles. Their faces and arms had all kinds of strange writings. They looked like a group of people from the biker gang. They were waving flags and cheering. Without a doubt, they were supporting the lost girl, who was piloting the heavy soldier Gauda. Is it really the biker gang? Is it really a joke of fate? On one side was the imperial princess born in the Lucia world. On the other side was the biker gang girl who was lost in society. The difference in status between the two was like heaven and earth. Such a contrast, such an encounter, could perhaps only occur in the steel pulla world? However, no matter how much Ray Minkai sighed, Euphemia's battle was still ongoing. Furthermore, Euphemia was about to get serious. Cute? That's right. The tyrant bear is very cute. However, if you only judge the tyrant bear's combat strength from its appearance, then you are gravely mistaken. Within the billowing smoke, 2 rays of light lit up. The smoke gradually dispersed, revealing the tyrant bear with a huge crown on its head, the bear of Britannia. With a wave of its hand, the red cloak that had covered its entire body not long ago, completely blocking the heavy soldier Gauda's attack, fluttered in the wind. As the red cloak fluttered in the wind, the gradually dissipating smoke was completely dispersed, revealing the bear of Britannia's almost perfect body. How is this possible? My heavy soldier Gauda's attack was actually unable to harm this toy. How is this possible? I don't believe it. The girl from the biker clan roared, her hands moving again and again. Ka! 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 The heavy Gundam's shoulders, waist, arms, legs, and all the missile pods, grenade launchers, and even the 6-barreled Gatling gun installed on it were fully activated. Go to hell. A toy should act like a toy. A steel pull-a-battle is not a place where a toy like you should exist. Go to hell. Under the roar of the girl from the biker clan, heavy soldier Gao fired all his ammunition. Not good. Be careful. Makoto Ito and Takasaka Kina practically shouted out at the same time. As for Rei Minkai, he still had that calm appearance, not taking the Bear of Britannia's desperate situation to heart. As for Lingshire, well, this guy had already been attracted by the bread next door. I'm afraid that if Makoto Ito didn't call him, he would find an opportunity to sneak over and buy a bread to taste. Although the audience's mood was also tense because of the desperate situation faced by the Bear of Britannia, Euphemia, like Rei Minkai, had great confidence in the steel pulla she made. Toy? Euphemia's voice faintly sounded amidst the sky full of artillery fire and the whistling of missiles. Then Euphemia chuckled. I just said, if you only rely on appearance to judge the battle strength of the Bear of Britannia, then the one who loses is you. Woo woo woo! Da-da-da-da! The missiles whistled, the artillery shells roared, and in the next second, they would hit the Bear of Britannia. However, Euphemia shouted softly. Royalty! Buzz! As soon as the voice fell, a faint blue light suddenly burst out from the joints of the Bear of Britannia's body, and in the blink of an eye, it swam all over the body, all condensing in the huge crown on the Bear of Britannia's head. At this moment everything was silent. The next moment, a thunderous explosion resounded between heaven and earth. Boom! Rumble! A particle energy that was enough to condense a small sun gathered at the top of the Bear of Britannia's head in the blink of an eye, and poured out towards the position of the heavy armor Gouda in one breath. As soon as the terrifying torrent of particles appeared, it dispersed the barrage of missiles, grenades, and artillery shells that had forced the Bear of Britannia into a dead end a moment ago with unstoppable power. Boom! 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 Wherever the torrent of particles passed, it all became the soil of the blooming flower of flames. No, no, impossible. It's just a toy. How can it have an attack more terrifying than the heavy armor Gouda? Under the incredulous gaze of the biker girl, the large particle cannon named Royalty, by Euphemia instantly drowned the heavy armor Gouda. Boom! In the explosion of the heavy armor Gouda, this steel pulla competition also ushered in the moment of end. The battle is over. How could it be? My heavy armor Gouda! Looking at the fragmented heavy armor Gouda, the biker girl wearing leather clothes, with a short ponytail, and dyed her hair in various colors, wailed with tears in her eyes. This is a very good battle between tempera and tempera. If there is a chance, are you willing to fight with me again? With your full strength, seriously fight once. As the white skirt appeared in front of the biker girl, Euphemia's gentle voice that was enough to pacify people's hearts sounded. Looking up, the biker girl seemed to have seen the first dawn in her life. Yes, I will. My name is Qian Jia of the mountain. May I ask what your name is? I am Euphemia Li Britannia. On the other side, Rei Minkai helplessly slapped his forehead. Another fangirl. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.